Welcome to episode 100 of the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Pooba, Senator, Pagoda, Grinder, and Bam Bam. A full house of lizards, and our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some champagne and scotch, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 100th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a New World cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We recap our lizard origins, we share some of our favorite pod moments, and we review the best and worst rated cigars on the podcast, all among a variety of other things for the next 3 hours. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair both 2013 vintage Pol Roger champagne and 21 year aged the Balvenie Portwood single malt scotch with the Padrón 50 Years the Hammer in Maduro. A celebratory Toro tonight on the pod from Padrón. It's called the 50 Years. It's the Hammer is its nickname. It's a beautiful 52 ring gauge by 6.5 inch Toro. And gentlemen, we could not have picked a better cigar for this triple digit celebration tonight.
Outstanding selection.
How exciting is this?
What a beautiful cigar.
I'm pumped. I'm so excited for this episode, guys. This is going to be great.
We've had this one marked on the calendar for quite some time now. We have a lot to get to tonight.
You know, the last time we all smoked this cigar,
Pooba's birthday.
Pooba's 50th birthday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It was
That's
here.
right.
It was here.
Lounge.
At 1086.
When you were a young man.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't believe this is our 100th episode. It's
Crazy,
know.
man.
Congrats to you all.
We're still together.
We're still here.
Yeah.
Still living it. Loving it.
man. And there's so much to talk about.
So much to talk about.
So much to talk about, and we're relying on Giz to help us navigate.
As always.
I'll do my very best. All right, boys, let's cut this thing. See what we're getting on the cold draw on the wrapper. This cigar is serious. When you have this cigar in your hand, like you are not messing around with this.
Not to mention the price point.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
$50.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, coincidental. It's not on purpose, but
Ultra premium, ultra luxury cigar. No doubt.
yeah, this classic Padrón.
Yeah.
I love that we're doing a Padrón.
Yeah. It's like we've always chosen Padrones for these celebratory episodes. We did the 80th Maduro for our 1 year anniversary, which, by the way, is crazy that's almost a year ago now. That was episode 53.
It seemed like
This is episode 100.
yesterday.
It seems like it was 2 months ago.
Uh-huh.
And here we are with another Padrón in our hand, the Hammer. So what are you guys getting on the cold draw? Getting that kind of
Slight
classic
cocoa.
dried fruit, cocoa.
Dried fruit,
Barnyard,
cocoa, leather,
mustiness.
bit of leather.
It's so complex, even on the cold draw.
But you get that quintessential Padrón DNA, regardless of the Padrón.
But I think it's up another level.
of course.
You know, it's
Yeah.
very different than the 80th
Oh, sure. It's more
on the
robust.
cold draw on the flavor, but
I think to Bam's point, you get the DNA, and then what Gizmo's saying, it's richer, the
Yeah.
delivery of
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
all right, boys, let's light this thing. The Padrón.
Hold on. Time out.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Can I make a radical suggestion?
Whoa!
Can
Are
we
we-
have a little palate cleanser before we dive into this?
Oh.
I know where he's going.
I thought you were going to say run this underwater.
That's one approach. That's certainly the Schwarzenegger approach.
And
Good timing.
We're going to do that on an episode. It's not this one.
It's not an
$50
approach we're
cigar.
going to take tonight.
Yeah.
I just think, a little aperitif. I feel like in a
Nice.
celebratory
Very
occasion,
nice.
we need to start somewhere before we get to the main event.
Oh yeah.
So, Senator, we've seen
concur.
a bottle like this before, but not this bottle.
Looks special.
What do you have in your hand?
I haven't ever seen this bottle.
When you say like this, what did we see like this?
Well, just Pol Roger in general.
Oh, for sure. So this is the regular non-vintage Pol Roger. It's got the white label. Basically, any of the stuff on the bottles is white. The vintage bottles, it's a black label, gold kind of text on it, and this is a 2013 bottle, so 10 years aged.
Oh,
Amazing.
It's supposed to be very, very good. Peak drinking of this is 2022 and beyond, so we're like right in the sweet spot.
Damn.
We are
Damn,
living the
homeboy.
life.
Oh man!
Now we cooking.
So
by the way, no saber.
No
tonight.
saber tonight.
That's
We
the
will
thing.
be cherishing every bit.
That's the thing. So I brought the saber in case there was objections from the group about me opening this regularly, but the risk of there being this expensive
30% of it,
champagne on
yeah.
the floor, it's
Yeah.
just not worth it.
Yeah.
We
Let's
don't
not
want to
do that.
consume it. All right,
Beautiful.
well,
2013 bottle of Pol Roger.
I can't wait to drink
to
this.
100 episodes.
Yeah, here we go.
Hey!
Very
The
exciting.
whoopa.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So I've actually never, while Senator or Garcon, let's call him, is pouring our champagne, I've actually never had aged champagne ever.
Neither have I.
So I don't even know what to expect right now
Not at all.
You will find
from
out.
this spirit that we love so very much.
It looks darker.
So is that a product of
It does look richer.
is that a product of age, or is that a product of the just circumstance and grapes and
It's a product of age.
Look at this.
Nice.
Coming around. It's a beautiful bottle. Garcon is pouring these glasses perfectly. He's pouring Gizmo's glass. Beautiful.
I'm really looking forward to this. This is
Oh, yeah.
fantastic.
I was light with the initial pour, so we all are going to get a second glass because I know everybody's going to want more.
My mouth is watering.
We need
here we
more.
go.
All right,
Hey, Slanch.
cheers,
Gentlemen.
boys, to 100
Cheers.
to 100 more.
100 episodes. Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
It's the friendship.
This is beautiful.
Friendship, togetherness.
Cheers.
All right, here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Let's sip this thing. Love
Solid.
you all.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And cheers to the listener out there.
Cheers, Rooster.
Mm.
Thank you. Cheers, Fuwa.
Cheers. Cheers.
Here we go.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That is
man.
that is different.
That is fantastic.
That is magnificent
Oh, it's fantastic.
champagne.
Do you see how creamy this is?
Oh, it's so creamy.
Mm.
Can you get Bam Bam and me a bottle, please?
Oh my God, it's wonderful.
This is
It's
magnificent.
absolutely wonderful.
You know
it's
what I
like
think is-
it's like a woman in a glass.
You know what I think
This
is interesting about
absolutely
this?
insane. Am I wrong?
By the way, that's a
it's
Bam Bam
delicious.
line, by the way.
I think this is going to stand up very well to this expected full cigar that we're about to light.
So I'm glad you said that. That's the thing. I mean, I think we maybe did one grower champagne, which was fuller in body. A vintage champagne is going to concentrate kind of the flavors more. This is definitely got a lot more structure than the non-vintage Pol Roger that's super light, easygoing. So I'm glad you said that, Giz, because I mean, this is a hard cigar to have any champagne with, but this can at least hold its own.
It is very rich.
Yeah.
Very clean finish. Long though.
Yes.
Yeah, long.
Long,
That
clean
is
finish.
mag-
But it's
Magnificent.
sweet and it's dry.
It is. You know what? That combination is exactly right. Very unique.
And not very bubbly. Although I do feel it on my tongue. It's like a really weird thing. I feel
Well, the
some
long
kind of thing,
finish,
yeah.
really long finish.
Long finish. Fruity and dry.
Agree.
On the money.
It's
Magnificent, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you,
So, I
thank
figured-
you, Senator.
figured we'd start there.
That is a good.
wonderful.
That was a good place to start tonight. And
Now
now we
we're-
have set a high bar.
We have.
We have set a high bar for the evening.
No, we have, and it's been such this whole journey. It's been the friendship that we've formed together over the years has been fantastic, and I think this type of a toast is and this type of a spirit's very apropos.
All right, boys.
All right.
Let's light this cigar.
Let's get into it.
The Padrón, 50 years in Maduro. It's called the Hammer. Again, it's a 52 ring gauge by 6.5 inch Toro. From the amazing Padrón family, celebrating 50 years of their existence. Came out in 2014. And
Wow, this is good.
yeah, this is definitely a special occasion cigar.
Oh yeah. Celebratory cigar. Mm.
It is so
Oh,
rich.
that's magnificent
Such
on
a
the light.
rich smoke.
Oh, man.
So complex.
You know, for such a robust cigar, the retrohale on this is very, very nice.
And the delivery
lovely.
is so smooth.
Yeah.
It's not this is definitely going to be a full bodied affair,
Oh yeah.
but it's so smooth that it almost feels medium.
Yeah. That's with complexity. I think you can get that in the complexity.
It's a real sit. You know, it's a long.
Yeah. Like when you light this thing, like you're committing to a real sit down
hour and a half
and
minimum.
a slow smoke. You know, you don't want to blow through a $50 bill in your hand. You know, you want to really savor it.
Yeah. I mean, it does taste like a Padrón, but it's more.
Yeah.
You know, it's more complex. It's like more of everything that a Padrón delivers.
True.
Yeah, this is a magnificent cigar. And I actually think the starting with the champagne, I think set us up for an even better experience. You know, as Senator said, cleansing the palate.
I was about to say that. I think I was smart.
Yeah.
Good timing.
It only took 100 episodes, but
we
did it right
finally
tonight.
got the cadence
Not how
going.
you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah, and I think
So we've been told.
I think, and
Yes.
you know, one of the things we talked about, I think that it's very appropriate for this. And thank you, Senator, for bringing the bottle. It's very appropriate that, like, we appreciate this type of a bottle of champagne way more than we would have a year ago.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or 18 months ago.
Of course.
We've tried more champagnes. Senator was the catalyst to really introducing us to good champagne and bringing some education around that. And I've gained a greater appreciation for it for sure. And it's you know, I appreciate that.
I 1,000% echo that sentiment. I never drank champagne, and as a matter of fact, I would avoid it.
Me too.
At
Same
all
here.
costs. And now my wife is like always surprised, like, "Oh, you're drinking champagne." Like, I love it now. It's but only Poli and Boli.
Poli and Boli.
All right.
Polly and Bowley.
Yeah, me too.
But it's because of this friendship and Senator's enthusiasm for champagne and all the things we've learned about it, you know, along with everything else we discussed in this podcast. It's fantastic.
Just
I
fun
totally
to share,
agree.
honestly. I mean, for me, again, I don't think I ever expected, and I'm sure so many feel like this. I mean, we've all brought kind of different random things to this group that we happen to like, that we want to share and see what others think about. I never imagined that everybody in this group would kind of universally embrace champagne and sit here and say, like, I really enjoy drinking this stuff. I mean, I remember the other day we were at Pagoda's house in the afternoon, and he's breaking out champagne bottle after champagne bottle. And I said, like, this is amazing. I feel like I'm at home. I don't have to do anything. He's got everything covered. He had Pol Roger. We were all set up. So it's a lot of fun. I'm just glad. And for me, even now, to have a group regularly that I can explore more stuff that even I haven't tried. I mean, I've never had the 2013 vintage of Pol Roger before. This is my first time having this, just like everybody here. And obviously, it's a great bottle. I'm very excited, but there's so much within Pol Roger's line. I mean, they have some really crazy stuff. Like their Sir Winston bottles start to get like really expensive, but
They have a Sir Winston bottle?
yeah,
Sounds like, we have to-
they've got some
We have to
serious
procure one or
stuff.
two of those.
That
It
was his
his-
champagne. That's right.
Yeah.
That was his thing.
Wow.
So favorite
That
champagne.
might pair well with the Sir Winston cigar that we haven't done.
Yeah.
That's actually brilliant that you
We
just
should,
said that.
sir. We
Okay, I think we know what we're getting for that episode.
Episode 101, Sir Winston.
Yeah.
101.
All right, we'll see everybody next week. So, boys, what are we getting on the cigar? Because on the light, in the very early stages of this, it's already set
gorgeous.
itself up as
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
I got to
just an
say,
incredible cigar.
at the burn line, if you can do that, and if you're comfortable retrohaling, I'm getting a lot of cocoa and fruit simultaneously. It's very unusual.
It's a very
Unusual.
It's a very strong retro hill, I will say.
Yeah.
No, I don't find, for me, I don't find it strong. I just chase those notes and I get them. I don't know.
When you say strong, what do you mean? Is it like a bite for
It's
you?
like-
Is
it's-
it just oomph?
No, it's very rich, and it's, you know, when you have horseradish
I had some today.
and there's that little like thing that, like
Wasabi,
it's like
yeah.
it's like it cleanses. It's like
Mhm.
you know, smelling salts. It's
Yeah.
kind of that's kind of what it's like, but,
Yeah, but
not
it's-
even close to smelling salts. It's what's wonderful, but it's just very intense.
But it's a Nicaraguan cigar.
Yeah, it's a Padrón.
And it's a Padrón, and they don't retrohale like Cubans, really.
No.
It's they're,
Mhm.
they're
But it's
almost.
it's
I
very
almost
smooth.
would like to say it's very smooth. I almost would argue that I don't really retrohale Padrones that often, and they're Nicaraguan, and I don't know if they're really meant for that as much as a Cuban is meant for
I
it.
think it depends on the individual. honestly, because I retrohale these regularly.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I tried retrohaling yesterday.
Yeah,
But
man.
listen, my recommendation for any guys with sinuses, listen, think about it
don't
before
do
you
that.
try it.
Take your Afrin first.
Well, I'll tell you, the smoke was coming out of my ears and every other.
Oh boy. Tranquilo, tranquilo.
So, boys, let's talk about the cigar for a second. Like I said, this cigar was launched in 2014, celebrating 50 years of Jose Padrón. Started making cigars under the Padrón name in 1964, of course. The cigar is nicknamed after a small hammer. I think we've talked about this on prior Padrón episodes that Mr. Padrón received from a friend named Raul Fernandez. And Jose Padrón would use the hammer to work in carpentry, and then he saved up the money he made on those jobs to eventually open his first factory and start Padrón in 1964, obviously. And the small hammer is visible on every box, every cigar that Padrón puts out. And you can actually go, and Rooster and I did when we were in Miami. It actually is displayed in the lobby of their headquarters in Miami. And they take it to the trade shows too, but the hammer is still there. And it's very, it's a very important part of their story and their history. It underscores the hardworking family that builds these cigars that we love so very much, and why we choose them for big nights like this. And yeah, it's just a magnificent cigar. But 10 years plus aged tobacco in these, which is incredible.
It is incredible.
I have to say the other thing about this cigar, the box that this comes in, the presentation is outrageous.
Yes, it is.
Outrageous.
So they made 1,000 of these custom humidors that Senator's talking about at a price of $5,300 per humidor. It's a really nice white, I don't know if you'd call it a lacquer or a painted, it's a really bright.
A lacquer finish.
Yeah,
I think.
lacquer finish, really incredible. And it originally came with 25 natural hammer cigars and 50 Maduro, 25 Maduro, totaling 50 at a cost of $106 each. And now you can kind of get them, as singles for around $50.
Yeah.
So their intended MSRP is $106, but you're finding them, our listeners are finding them, we're finding them for, about $50 a cigar.
And then I think I had read, if you buy that, once you smoke through it, you can get it refilled, and I think then you can choose if you
can
want
choose,
natural
you
or
can get
Maduro.
50 Maduro, 50 natural, or the 25-25.
And the refilling probably is at a cheaper rate.
Probably.
Definitely.
You would hope so.
And it's amazing, they've come out, they've been out 10 years. Obviously, we were talking about what cigar were we going to choose for episode 100. And I think it was important that we chose one that any listener could find. And this is a cigar for how exclusive the tobacco is, how aged it is, how limited this cigar appears to be. You can really kind of find it anywhere.
It's true.
Any serious Padrón retailer has these.
Well, we also had to choose this because Rooster didn't want to share any of his 100-year-aged cigars that
That's
he got
true.
tucked away.
That he was smoking in 1942. For crying out loud.
Yeah, what a brilliant, brilliant cigar, boys.
No, this feels like home. Champagne, excellent cigar. This is great.
You guys have changed.
You have changed.
I mean, drinking champagne in the afternoon.
You guys are bougie.
Pagoda's back lawn.
Very bougie.
Oh, yeah.
It's lizarding. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah,
It was
it's
just a
awesome.
perfect afternoon, meaning it just called for champagne.
It's roving. It's a lifestyle.
What a magnificent start to the evening, gentlemen.
Oh, it's a wonderful smoke.
The
I mean,
champagne with this, at each sip, you cleanse your palate and you take another draw. It just starts all over again. It's really unique.
I think
That combination.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
And I totally agree. But this is champagne and cigars go well together. They pair well together. And the deeper into the rabbit hole our whole hobby has gone. It's a well-known, established kind of fact that good champagne and a good cigar is really a great pairing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask Winston Churchill every morning.
Winston Churchill, because there's this cleansing element to it, and you would think it wouldn't work, on the face of it.
Yeah.
But as a cigar smoker, you realize, wow, this is a wonderful way.
Like Grinder said, I've avoided it intentionally because I never respected champagne until we gathered here and learned about it.
Yeah.
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 And also what you're getting at weddings and celebrations is not
No. Ever.
as you know, as Grinder said, Poli and Boli. You know,
and just the mass marketed stuff is just not great. I mean, it's so similar. Well, I shouldn't say. I was going to say it's similar to cognac, but I think we've actually learned some of that's not fair. Like Hennessy's mass marketed, and we've done some Hennessy. And we're like, well, that's actually pretty good. But with champagnes, it's like all anybody sees is a bottle of Veuve Clicquot, and they think like that's the only champagne, or like Moet or one of these others. Nobody, 90% of people have no idea what Pol Roger is.
Right.
Yet, like people who are serious about champagne in places like the UK, like this is what they choose. Bollinger, again, you're not going to see that on many menus. So it's I've been lucky to have met people throughout my life that have at one point or another introduced me to one of these brands, and I'm just glad to keep passing it forward.
Yeah, don't forget Asti Spumante.
Oh, with a sugar cube.
Yes, and Frisianet.
So that's why Rooster doesn't drink anymore.
Speaking of passing it forward, can I have some more?
Oh yes, everybody
Please?
all around. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I got gypped. Let's go.
I didn't think there was any more.
That's why I don't drink, so you guys can have more.
You're so generous.
Of course.
It's very noble.
Honestly, Veuve Clicquot and the other champagnes, when you drink this, me as a novice champagne guy, immediately see the difference. It's incredible how much body this has compared to that.
Veuve though is it's not my jam. It's just a little too.
Thank you.
It's a little fruity and it's a little acidic, and it's just something about it that I don't love.
It is acidic, isn't it?
Mhm.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and I don't think it drinks like the price.
The other thing I wanted to say is I do see a parallel, which was unattended to my brain before we came in tonight. Obviously, haven't had the aged Pol Roger prior to this, but the way that the aged Pol Roger is kind of performing versus how great young Pol Roger, the standard run-of-the-mill bottle is very similar to an Exclusivo from Padrón or an 80th from Padrón to
Great
this
point. Very good point.
10-year
Yeah,
age
sure.
cigar. I mean,
Such a good point.
it's not that much of a drastic jump in quality. Like what we smoke all the time, an Exclusivo, that 80th or a Family Reserve or a 1926 line. It's not that far off from this.
Those cigars we take for granted, but they're world-class cigars.
Absolutely.
Right?
And this is just another.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
if you were to
up.
take a bottle of Pol Roger and an Exclusivo in Maduro, 1964 in Maduro, and just pair it up, it's just like a step down in complexity from what this is, but it's like parallel
Exactly.
in terms of on a regular, if you're just going to have a regular night. Really nice.
That's why I think we just chase brands with great DNA that kind of across their line from more entry level to mid range to some of the high end stuff. Like there's something that satisfies us at really every one of those stages, and I think those are two great examples of brands that we feel exactly that way about.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'm going to take a stab at, the 26 line and the Family Reserve line. We tend to avoid those, right?
Except the 80th.
Except
I
the
think
80th.
all of us smoke the 80th. And Rooster smokes a lot of Family
He
Reserve.
does, and I used to,
Yeah.
right? But I gravitated away from it. But with this champagne, I would challenge you, Senator, in particular, to try a Family Reserve or a 26 line with this because it's so cleansing.
Well, I'll tell you
it
what
could be a pretty good experience.
I'll tell you what I think would work really well of the Family Reserve line. I mean, again, some of them that are, I think, even bolder than this cigar we're having, much bolder, I don't think would pair well with champagne.
Mm.
But Grinder, there's a Family Reserve one that you like in natural.
Yeah, the
It's like
50,
more medium.
the 50 it's a smaller one. It's also a 50, but it's the 50 of the 26 line.
Family
that-
Reserve.
Yeah, Family
Interesting.
Reserve.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
And that's one of my favorite cigars in the natural. The Maduro is also splendid. It's a little stronger, obviously, but the natural it doesn't taste like a natural. It tastes like a Maduro. Frankly, it tastes like a Padrón, but it's just very compact and it packs a lot of punch. And
Yeah,
it's
it's a Robusto, isn't it?
It's a shorter Robusto.
Yeah, I'd call it it's
Yeah.
a short Robusto.
So that's a great point, Grinder, for the listener out there. The cigar that we're smoking tonight is in its own line as far as Padrón goes. This is not a member of the Family Reserve line. And as Grinder just said, there is actually a Family Reserve cigar that has the 50 symbol on it. This is
Moniker,
not that
yeah.
cigar.
Yeah.
So this specific Padrón has its own band specifically made for this cigar. It has a serial number. It kind of looks as the 1964 does with the multiple bands. They kind of designed it that way, but it's one band. It's a lot bigger, and it has 50 years with the serial number 1964 to 2014, and then there's kind of an embossed little hammer on both sides of the writing. So this is not to be confused with the Family Reserve 50-year cigar, which is also excellent. And we did the sister cigar to that, the 85th we did on episode 85, if you guys remember, which was also an excellent cigar.
Excellent cigar.
But I mentioned that 50th that Grinder likes because I remember he gave that out to a bunch of us, and my experience with the Family Reserve line had been pretty limited, especially naturals in it. And that cigar, I just remember, was like very nutty, which pairs really well with champagne, like those like nutty brioche notes, and then the earth you get in a lot of Padrones, like the minerality that you get out of these champagnes, like just really pairs well. So that stands out to me when Bam mentioned try some of the Family Reserve cigars with champagne. I feel like that would actually pair really well.
I think so too. You're right, because I think you could drink a couple maybe 3 glasses of champagne and finish the cigar and be done, and it's not going to be an hour and a half.
And you won't feel overwhelmed by the strength of the cigar either because of the champagne, I think.
And it's just such a tasty cigar,
Oh, it's fantastic.
Not as good as this.
No, this is amazing.
I will say what's bizarre to me. So I love this in Maduro. I think all of us obviously have smoked this before. How many of you have had this in natural?
No,
I have.
Never.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a major step above the natural.
That's
for
the
me.
thing. So years ago when we were at a former lounge of ours, for my birthday, one of my buddies had got me this cigar in natural and Maduro. And me being me on my birthday at the lounge, I smoked the natural and then the Maduro right after each other. And I really did not like the natural. And I was like, I thought this whole 50 years kind of, blend was maybe just flawed or something. And then I had the Maduro and I said, wow, this is spectacular. So I'm not sure why. I mean, obviously I have I guess a bias because I don't really smoke many natural Padrones, but Grinder gave that 50th Family Reserve and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great cigar. I just didn't get the same feeling when I had this in natural for some reason.
I agree. I don't know if the natural just doesn't, with 10 years on it before it's rolled, it just doesn't mature as roundly, I guess, as this one does.
Could be in a blend.
It's not as smooth to me as this
There's
one.
more age on this.
No, we're comparing to the natural version.
Oh,
of
the
this.
natural version of
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Natural version
Sorry.
of this specific cigar.
So you should also try like the 1926 series in the natural.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
think
good?
it's just like
I've
a little
had
step
those.
below
Be
the
interesting to try
Maduro,
those.
but
Yeah.
it's still
It's still a lot.
complex.
It's still a lot.
it's
And
a lot, yeah.
I mean, I like that. I like that. For me, that's still a lot of cigar.
Yeah.
And that's what Jorge Padrón
I agree.
likes. Jorge Padrón, I think across his line, prefers natural to Maduro.
Is that right?
His favorite cigar is the 45th Family Reserve in natural.
But I think we're saying the 26 line itself, the
26.
regular, it just packs a punch.
It does.
And even those I just, man, they're too much.
Certainly does. Yeah, I've had that experience. I've actually, at our former lounge, I remember buying some and then having one and then walking them back down and being like, I can't. Let me exchange this.
Puma got
Swap
dizzy
them
that
out.
day.
Yeah.
I think I remember that. Pooh was like, anybody got a Coke?
Yeah, you need a Coke because when they're nicotine heavy. I find the 26 line to be more nicotine heavy, excluding the 80th.
Yeah, that's the outliers, the 80th.
Excluding the 80th, I find, and you need a Coke. You need a legit Coca-Cola or sugar to offset like the borderline nicotine poisoning that you can experience. I mean, not everyone does, of course, but
Well, Rooster has that
it's
for
strong.
breakfast.
It's strength. They pack legitimate strength.
Yep. So speaking of that lounge, boys, that's where we all met.
Yes, sir.
We all met during the early COVID days. Some of the lizards knew each other well before that, but the core group of 7 here met at the lounge.
Yep.
And that's where we started the whole journey. That's actually, we got our lizard names well before we ever thought about a podcast. At that lounge.
It's pretty amazing, like how many guys used to go there, how many people we used to see every day.
Mm-hmm.
But yet somehow we clicked,
Yeah.
right? We kind of got together. We started doing the pod away from the lounge, but we all just clicked, but we were still friends with a lot of the other guys, but so just
Attributed to our like-mindedness, I think.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there are lizards and there are cigar smokers.
Absolutely.
I remember they used to tease me because I would spend the entire day at that lounge.
Working.
working.
grinding. You were grinding.
You were grinding.
And because that would be my office. And I lived 2 blocks from that lounge, and I would go in the morning and I would open the place and I'd have it all to myself, and I would work, and it would be great. And I'd smoke, I would smoke 4 or 5 cigars.
You weren't teased for being there all day.
I was definitely teased for being there all day.
You were teased for more about kind of spreading your wings there.
Yeah. Well, he had his laptop, his notebook, his charger over here. Oh, don't forget the cup of coffee and the thermos over here.
You're like, who's sitting here? Oh, Grinder. Who's there? Grinder. Where's Grinder right now? Oh, he's on a call.
Well, that's how he got the name Grinder.
Yeah.
So he was always grinding away.
Yeah.
I
mean, it fits, right? So, it was a great place to work, and obviously found other
like
places
2
to work.
blocks from your house at that time. It was so convenient.
Super convenient.
Yeah. Management loved that. The more time we spent there, the happier they were.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
The more money we spent, the more time. It was like an inverse relationship. The more we were there, the more we were spending, the more they hated us.
That's right.
One good thing came out of that place was we all met there.
That's
so
true.
We'll always remember that for that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I walked in there and it was at the beginning of the pandemic.
I remember your first day there.
And it was that unforgettable.
Oh, yeah. This big dude walks in with white shorts on, tennis shirt, handsome, the blonde hair, whipped back with the glasses.
Did you say formidable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Not for Bam Bam, but for most.
You're taking shots, Puba.
But no, not at all.
He's got an imposing personality and an imposing physique.
Oh yeah.
And it's a lot to take in when you first meet Puba. You gotta see what is this guy about? He's he's got such a force in the room.
He takes space.
And he was like this new guy. Who's just like controlling the conversation and talking about all this varied like Renaissance bullshit. And we're just like, who is this guy?
Talking about derivatives and market analysis and branding.
That's why Puba and I clicked instantly.
We did.
Well, I think the thing that ties the room together, and I think maybe the difference that you just said between cigar smokers and lizards is just curiosity. I think what really formed this group's bond, aside from the laughing and the person, the common stuff that creates a friendship, but I think the genuine shared curiosity to grow in our knowledge of cigars, in our cigar smoking, and then into Cuban cigars, which I think we went crazy diving into Cuban cigars. And that was a product of, I think, the group's curiosity and wanting to just continue to experience new things.
I think that was I think a watershed moment when Puba started talking about the various social media groups that he had, and the Cubans that were coming into the discussion, and then everyone was trying them, and then everyone was loving them and smoking them.
That's
and
true.
That changed the kind. That
That's
was like
exactly
a new
right.
tidewater.
That's partly true, but people were smoking Senator was smoking Cubans. People,
Right,
there were
right.
there were D4s around, and there were other Cubans around.
There were Monty 2s floating
and
around.
Monty 2s around.
I think
You guys were smoking Cubans long before me. I found a particular, let's call it, alleyway, and I kind of shot I shot that lane and kind of started to talk about that. And then it was just, and then we started to talk about these things and research these things more. But I certainly wasn't like some sort of Cuban expert.
No, and
I mean, Senator turned me onto Cigar Terminal at the time. It wasn't like I was some kind of Cuban expert.
Right.
It wasn't.
I think the way I would describe it, I think Puba kind of leveled up our procurement of Cuban cigars.
Yeah,
and enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm for it. And I think the funny thing is, like, a number of us in this room were smoking Cuban cigars for a very long time. I mean, I was since my college days. And I remember Puba at one point in the lounge had asked me, he's like, because I guess he probably saw me with a D4, and he's like, where do you get this stuff and how do you know it's real? Because most of this stuff is fake. The perpetual challenge that we've all faced. And I said, look, I've never had a bad experience with Cigar Terminal. We got turned on to I Have as well. And then I know Puba had started ordering some stuff from there. And then I think as Puba started smoking more Cubans and getting really excited about them, I just remember I used to get these calls from him where like he was studying so much about Cuban cigars from some of the guys that put out great content on YouTube and kind of other sources, and then found his way into all these other avenues for us that you can procure these in a much easier way than waiting, 4 or 6 weeks to have something shipped from Europe. Like there's just a lot, some other options. And I think that just really took our, interest in Cuban cigars to the next level because it became so much easier for us to procure interesting stuff that we were looking for. So I think we're all extremely grateful, obviously, for the work that was put in there. I think that really kind of opened the floodgates for all of us.
It was an adventure, really.
I think it's also, before that time, I personally only had like a desktop humidor, 2 of them. That was the limit of cigars that I could really stock.
Same.
Look at you now.
Look at all of us.
Look at all of us now.
I think it wasn't until we got a tower that we're like, shit, we got to fill this up.
Yeah.
And it was COVID, and we had a lot of free time.
And the prices hadn't gone crazy.
Hadn't gone up.
They were
They were still reasonable. We were getting boxes of D4 for $215.
It doesn't even seem real.
Exactly. They were reasonable. And then there was a point where we started to understand and appreciate age during this process. And there were a couple cigars that were catalysts for that. And there was some skepticism, I think, around it. But I think the group came around and realized, okay, well, wow, this premium is worth it. And then the rabbit hole, opens up, because now you're on the chase, and we really collectively got on a chase and started to, explore different things, and then wound it, everything came full circle to Partagas and Upman. Everything came full circle to Vegas Urbana, certain Vitolas.
Yeah.
It was really kind of like this journey that's taken us kind of around, where even in, QD, I remember in the beginning of this journey, we would talk about QD, and Grinder liked QDs, and we were like, well, they're too light, they're this, that, and the other thing. But then all of a sudden, guess what happened? Everyone came around to QD.
Now we all have boxes.
Now we all have boxes, and Grinder was a big proponent of QD. And so when you look at our towers, when you look at our collections, it's really come around. And now later in the cycle, you start to see, we're all, not that we're pro Cohiba, but now later in this cycle of this journey, you see.
I'm pro Cohiba.
Right, I know you are. You see more Cohiba have entered some of our collections, in a somewhat limited way, but again, it's a journey, and we've explored a lot of cigars in this podcast.
Yeah,
And
we've
it's
done
forced us
100 and probably 10 at this point between the short smokes we've done too. We've done some special episodes. I mean, and that's just different, marcas and vitolas that we've done on the pod. But I mean, there's so much more to do.
Yeah.
But I think to your point about for me, it was obviously developing a palate, but then also the constantly redeveloping of that palate that I think changed preferences, changed understanding of how tobacco tastes young, with age, different varietals, different regions of tobacco. And I think, it's all kind of tied together with a nice little bow on it because of the podcast.
Yeah, I think on that, the thing that's so cool about this, if we all look in our towers, it's like every one of us individually is kind of responsible for one of those cigars making it into our tower.
That's 100%
I can
right.
look around this room and literally each and every one of you has introduced me to something that I have fallen in love with so much.
I want to hear them.
That I'm going to go around. So I'm going to start with Bam. Bam introduced me to the Millennium Pyramid. I'm obsessed with that. I love it. It's always in my humidor. Grinder, anything QD, I would have never given a chance. I always said it's probably too mild for my palate. He got me hooked on QD. I have several different vitolas and boxes in my humidor. Puba, the Upman 2, every time I look at it, I think of Puba.
Yep.
Like, I always liked Upman, but I never really got into Upman the way that he is, and that kind of brought me into the fold.
And the half Corona.
I think the whole marker.
The whole marker.
I found half
the whole marker.
Oh, that's true.
Through our
I'm
unfortunate source.
Upman's brand ambassador.
You are.
Rooster, I have to give credit. I'm obsessed with the Padrón 80th, and Rooster actually gave me my first Padrón 80th back when we met at that lounge, and that's when I was so inspired to buy a box and smoke 4 of them consecutively in one night. That's how much I fell in love with that. Had I not met Rooster, I truly never would have smoked that cigar, and I think it's one of the greatest cigars of all time. Like Pagoda, I think of the Davidoff Dominicana all the time. Every time I see Pagoda, he's got that cigar in his hand. Amazing smoke. Gizmo will be surprised. The Partagas 898, I actually think of you for.
Oh, wow.
Not the Lucy, because I had a Lucy 50 cab before I met you, but I had never had an 898, and you had given me the first, I'm pretty sure, 898 I had, and it was excellent. So, like, every person in this room is responsible for, like, introducing something to me in my tower, and that's what I love about this group.
Vice versa, sure.
And that's what makes this, I think, really special.
That's awesome.
And you know what I find interesting is that whoever has been introduced to it, then they share it with somebody else. And like Rooster introduced me to the 898. You introduced Giz to the Exclusiva. This is going back in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I
literally
introduced
his first day at the lounge.
Yeah.
With Bouchard. With
Always.
chocolates.
Always with
Hey,
Bouchard.
those 1926 naturals with the little tobacco, the Bouchard chocolates might do good with this.
Actually, Pagoda introduced me to Xenos not too long ago. I'm very grateful for that.
I thought that was a cutie. I thought I would have gone. Wasn't that the cutie 54?
Yeah, it was a collab.
Listen, it's hard to get Rooster going, but that story of you guys giving him.
By the way, the first Ras I ever smoked was given to me by Puba, and Puba won't remember it, but the first time we met, it was you, me, and Danny, and we were drinking at the old lounge.
Yeah.
And we exchanged. I think we gave you a New World, maybe an EP Korea.
It was an EP.
Yeah, and then you gave us the Ras.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, the
Quite the
Ras, the Ras,
And I
was,
love the Ras.
I feel like I may have introduced the Ras to the group potentially.
Definitely,
Well, definitely the Club Corona for sure.
I would say you reintroduced it. And I say that because, like, before most of you guys joined, so like the newer members,
Yeah.
like when we went up to the Dillon that time, I brought a whole box of Ras with me actually that night. So we were
You
smoking
did.
them before,
Okay.
but I wasn't enamored with that cigar. I liked it, but didn't love it. And then you kind of brought it back, and I fell in love with that cigar.
Yeah. Maybe it was the cabinet. They need a little bit of time, and maybe there was a cabinet. There was a cabinet Rasses that maybe brought things around a little bit.
That was by the way, that was a huge revelation in the group too, when we discovered the difference between the sliding lid box and the cabinet versus
the
dress
box.
boxes, and the experience that we'd had even with young cigars, you know, coming out of a cabinet or a sliding lid box, which is basically a small cabinet, but where they rest on top of each other instead of stuffed next to each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, had we not had the towers, I mean, there's no way you could fit a 50 cab of anything in a desktop humidor.
Yeah,
That's it.
So I think that's what changed everything.
Sure.
And I think Grinder was probably the first one with
He
the,
was.
with
Yeah, he had the
towers.
first
He was the
tower.
first guy.
I don't know,
yep.
what year did you get your tower?
I got my tower in 2019.
Oh, 19.
I think that's right, because I got mine in 20.
Yeah.
And then I think Puba got it before, after
I was during when it was during
COVID.
well no
I think it was Grinder, me, Puba, then probably you two.
he's pointing
Then-
to Gizmo and
Sorry,
Rooster.
Gizmo and Rooster.
I got mine last
Then-
week.
Then, and then
Yeah.
did
listeners-
Pagoda get his before Bam?
Oh yeah,
Or was Bam's delivered before, but he didn't actually
That's
set
exactly-
up
That's a
until
very
after?
complicated thing.
Yeah, don't ask, please.
by the way, let's just say,
oh there's more Pol Roger.
All right.
so this is not another aged bottle. We're not that bougie, folks. This is a
Non-vintage.
non-vintage bottle of Pol Roger.
Still delicious, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Aim at a senator.
All right, very
Hey,
nice.
hey.
Oh, cheers.
Oh,
And
no,
those were
don't cross contaminate.
it was great times because we were there's only, I'm not saying there's only so many places to go, but we've gone a lot of places. You know, we've explored a lot of what's good, and I think that finding those foundational markers, the foundational vitolas that really belong in the humidor all the time, that hold true, you know, that we know hold true, which are the D4, which is a Ras, which is a Partagas short. I think everyone should have a Partagas short in their cabinet, you know, an up and half Corona. And some of these foundational things like you should have up and twos. You know what I mean? Stuff that you can get that's accessible.
For the listener out there, go through our ratings archive on the website, and you'll see which cigars, Cuban and non-Cuban,
you can
that line up exactly with those cigars that Puba just mentioned.
Live by that list.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the QD stuff, I mean, I'm not talking Corona Claros, which are, I think, you know, somewhat limited.
And boutique.
Yeah. I'm not talking 898s, which are somewhat limited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking E2s from Partagas, which are somewhat limited. But the stuff you really want,
The staples.
you know, the staples that are going to satisfy you all the time, that aren't going to come out at such a high premium. You know, if you have those, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And you lay those down, they're going to be really great. If you know, we all have in our humidors, D4s smoke great. They smoke great young. There's some years that are better than others, but at the same time, you know, you lay those down for a while, they just get better and better and better. So I think we all did a pretty good job of staggering and staging our collections where we bought young stuff to lay down and bought vintage stuff to smoke kind of now and backfilled our collections. I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah. I think we all did. I think we all did that.
And we went in hard and kind of got, you know, some age stuff on the secondary market, and then and through private sales, and then backfilled our collection with younger stuff to lay down on our own. I mean, I got boxes that I've had laying down that I haven't touched for years.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
And if you need help, you know, we are more than happy to come and help you.
Well, no, but we all do. But we all do. I'm just saying that it's.
I was going to say, I just for a quick second want to go back to the 50 cab discussion, because for me that was truly game changing, and I do have to give Puba credit because I'm pretty sure he's the first one that kind of really got me to see the incredible value of pursuing 50 cabs. And I say that because obviously long before I met everybody in this room, I was smoking the D4. That was always my favorite Cuban cigar. It still is. But that only comes in a 25 count box. So my assumption was any 25 count box, you know, is just as good as the next. There's no reason to pursue a 50 cab. It's just a change in quantity. And the RAS, it's so funny when, you know, we're talking about Puba reintroducing that cigar. As I think about it, I had only had the RAS in dress boxes for years prior to meeting Puba. And then he pursues a cab, and I have one of these, and I say, this is so different than the experience I've had with all these out of dress boxes. And it's like that light bulb went off. And I remember like the two of us, we were going on Cigar Terminal every day trying to score a Lucy 50 cab. And Puba said, get the cabinet, not the box. And eventually the two of us were lucky. We caught it once it had popped up and we each were able to order it. But I just think it was game changing because like Rooster mentioned, all of us at one point when we kind of started, we all had desktop humidors. We did not have towers. I couldn't buy a bunch of 50 cabs and have a place to put it. There just wasn't the space for it. And that's where the tower really became essential when you start to understand how you want to procure these different cigars you love and that you're going to need the space to do it. And it just made it a no-brainer to have to get something that, you know, you could do that and really collect.
And I'm kind of glad that we bought the boxes when we did.
Yeah.
Just going back even like
just from the point of view of price.
We got very lucky with timing.
We did.
I mean, the prices have like doubled, if not tripled on some of
a lot of the stuff.
I remember there was a 3-week stretch where Gizmo was procuring 150 cab of RAS after another.
Yeah.
We all benefited from that greatly. I thank you for that because I still cherish the two that I have.
I lost global entry because of it. But
yeah, we love you for that.
But so be it.
That's America's Most Wanted. But I think to your point, Senator, there's, I mean, I'm not going to compare my Lucy cabinets to Gizmo, who's got, I don't know how many,
8 of them,
8 or 9 cabinets boxes. But I mean, I've got a couple cabinet boxes. I mean, I haven't touched them. I got 898 boxes. I haven't touched them.
Yeah, same here.
I haven't touched them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't touched them. I don't plan on touching them for a little bit, for a while.
Well, the problem now, with all those cigars, the problem with them too is the price when you pull one of those cigars out it makes this $50 Padrón that we have in our hand seem like
it's
a
tremendous.
budget stick.
It's tremendous.
You know, it's crazy.
I haven't even opened. It's what you just thinking about it now. Like, dude, I haven't opened some stuff like just to even check on them in so long.
It might be time for a little checkup.
No, but I know they're so fine. I know they're totally okay because everything else is okay, and I just know they're just marinating. Like
dude, I got
in
this.
Worcestershire. Am I wrong? It's like it's a marinade.
Speaking of age, you know, we've talked about, you know, aged Cubans quite a bit on the podcast, and we've smoked young stuff, old stuff,
yes,
and we've talked about aged Nicaraguans and Dominicans, and there's this often debate on the internet. You see that Nicaraguans, Dominicans can't benefit from time, and you're smoking a 10-year plus aged cigar. You know, the tobacco in this is 10 plus years of age. And I think that we're really experiencing a next level.
Let's not forget
of Nicaraguan tobacco.
Let's not forget the 80ths that we smoked at
exactly.
Yeah. You had
Episode
them for
53.
What, 4 years?
4 years.
Yeah, they were spectacular.
So I think we've debunked several times now the fact that Nicaraguan tobacco cannot benefit from age.
I also think the easiest proof point to that is try a Padrón 1000 series and try 1946. And that 4-year difference does a world.
It's tremendous.
64.
64.
Sorry, 64.
Yeah.
It does
46
a world of...
when Rooster bought those.
No,
Senator's
42.
gone dyslexic.
So we're into the second third here of the Padrón 50 Years Hammer in Maduro. I am loving this cigar, boys.
Fantastic.
The first third was excellent.
Yeah,
Hey, you guys are smoking very slow. I don't know what's going on.
well, we're savoring.
We were told to.
Goodness. Look at Pagoda.
You can't rush through this.
Jesus.
And
He's a savage. He's a savage.
He is a savage.
The real gavon.
Well, someone cut him off.
In New Jersey, they say you're a real gavon.
Gavon.
He's got an inch on me.
Yeah.
Is
Nice
that
job,
true?
Pagoda.
Is that really true?
It's like bad porn.
Bam's like, let me show you mine.
We don't want to see the anteater.
All right, enough.
So has this thing changed at all for you guys as we've gotten into the second third now?
It's gotten for me creamier, and, if possible, smoother. But I'm still getting that cocoa and fruit combo, which is so unique for me.
And I think it's delivering such a complex flavor that for me, it hasn't changed too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe gotten, like you said, a little creamier, maybe.
Yeah.
But
That's enough.
It's delivered so far a very, very pleasant experience. But the complexity is really keeping it interesting because I feel like every time I draw it, I'm getting a little something different. I'm getting the cocoa, a little espresso, a little earthiness that Rooster mentioned.
And I'll say something. If you were apprehensive about a retrohale earlier in the cigar, it's much smoother now. I would attempt now. I've done it the whole thing.
I've been doing it every 4 or 5 draws.
Dude,
excellent.
You're capturing things that you won't get traditionally on a smoke.
And I think the burn line, the aroma at the head of the cigar,
sharp.
It's incredible.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I just needed to acclimate because I've retrohaled since, and it's
much better.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, it's a great smoke. I mean,
so boys, we've done 100 episodes of this podcast now.
Yep.
And I've got some moments that certainly stick in my mind as far as like memorable, like line in the sand moments in the podcast, different things we've talked about, things that we went crazy over. Obviously, Bam Bam Accountability Hour with his tower, I think is one of my favorite segments that we've ever done on this podcast.
Did we do that?
You know what's funny about that episode? There are 2 guys on CX2 that direct message me that still bust my balls on that. How long ago was that?
I can guess who.
Yeah, that's one guy. And there's another guy that lives down south that some of you guys know.
That's almost 8 or 9 months ago, I guess now.
Ridiculous.
It's crazy.
You guys got listeners, you got to let it go.
Bam, this is Bam.
Bam, this is Bam.
That was hilarious.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Well, was you talking to yourself, remember?
Yes.
When you were
Yeah, you were trying to be introspective.
I stepped out of myself.
We had to get you to really think about
you did.
your actions.
Yeah.
We remember. I know you try to forget, but it was a very enlightening hour.
I'm going to take each of you out behind the shed and teach you a lesson.
Whoa,
Easy. Take it easy, guy.
We know what kind of damage you can do.
I'm already hurting, please.
Yes.
So as far as some other moments, guys, what other moments come to mind is memorable for you guys on the podcast?
Well, I think that I think there were a couple guests that were memorable who we can, who I think we should talk about.
Yeah.
One is Dan Shishini, I think.
Yep. Cigar Salute.
And from Cigar Salute. And,
so Dan came on and did a full run of the fake Monte Fortuna box of Cohiba Robustos that I bought. That was part of a big counterfeiting ring that was really advanced. And Dan came on this time last year, I guess.
Yep. And we did a Hermoso.
And we did the St. Louis Ray Regios with him.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was
that's
a great
when
episode.
the new CSI Lizard series was launched.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, he's so knowledgeable. And I think we all,
he was great.
He's fantastic. And he knows so much.
Yeah.
He's so knowledgeable. And so I think we should make a toast to
Dan.
And say thank
Toast
you.
to Dan.
Dan.
Cheers.
For everything that you do.
We love Dan. Dan's a great guy.
We love Dan. And also Rob
Iowa, FOH.
Oh, yeah.
We did, that was November of last year. We did Partagas Lusitanias with him.
Yep.
Had a great discussion about all things FOH, Bond Roberts, the cigar industry. And that was obviously right around the time the prices really started getting crazy. So he was, super helpful and knowledgeable about that. And I think the thing that I took away from that conversation was when we were talking about runs of cigars and how he isolates various runs of factories
that was
and
interesting.
years, of great tobacco or mediocre tobacco.
I especially connected with that because I have a bit of a manufacturing supply chain mindset, and that was when he said that, I'm like, oh, everything clicks. That makes total sense.
And it was so simple,
yeah.
right?
I was like, oh, obviously. Yeah. I mean, and just to have that conversation and like level it out and be like, this is what happens. And like, oh, this is organic material. It's subject to variability, and you're going to have some consistency, and then you're going to have some doinks for a while. And that's just how it goes. I think when thinking back to special moments, it's not one necessarily special moment, but I remember, I recollect fondly to the Senator Lounge and those days. And
before we came to 1086, because we recorded there.
We were young and innocent.
Yeah, we had just begun this journey of the recording, and I used to get so giddy. Like I would wake up and I would be like, just get me through the day so I can go down the street and smoke cigars until 1 a.m. And that's what those were great times. We had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, and I remember fondly. Yeah, and I feel like this is still a continuation of some of those funs.
Yeah, and for the listener, I mean, we recorded in Senator's garage for a year.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, which was and we've been at 1086 now almost a year.
Yep,
which is. And it's almost like the second year of this podcast has been like here at 1086.
Like every great startup, it started in a garage.
Yeah.
Started in the garage.
Michael Dell and Senator Lizard.
Well, yeah, I mean, he would open up the garage door, and then we'd all go out and take a leak
in a line.
And all the smoke would pour out of the garage in a line. We'd all go take a leak and look at the bears and the deer or whatever, and then come back in. And it was during COVID too, which was, I think, brought us together. There was, I mean, we're like putting like hand sanitizer on and it was just nutty. Paper towels. He had a paper towel stash in the Lutheran cabinets in the garage.
The green cabinets.
The green Lutheran cabinets. I'm like, Lutheran made these. These are Protestant cabinets. Like there's the Catholic.
I don't know how you remember that, but that's incredible.
I'm like, these are Protestant cabinets, and Protestant in Ridgewood made these. Anyway, so we had a good time there.
We did. And you know what other guest we must mention that we actually recorded in Senator's Garage was our tequila run.
Oh,
2 episodes with Chef Ricky Camacho.
Ricky Camacho.
Incredible.
Ricky boy.
We got all right, so we got to do a cheers to Ricky and
Cheers,
Rob.
Ricky.
We have to.
Cheers to our
Cheers, Ricky.
guests.
My man, Rick.
Cheers. So we're
Cheers
very
to Ricky.
selective with our guests. I'm sure as the listeners know, and because we don't have many of them on. And you know, the 3 that we've had on so far have really been home runs. And for me, the most important thing about bringing someone on is not promoting a product or a brand or a new cigar or a new, you know, tequila or something. It's offering more value to the lizards.
And it's the learning process.
Yeah,
we
that's where I
learn
was gonna
something
go.
new.
I think the big thing is, you know, we really value people who are passionate about what they do. And whether that's someone in the cigar business, whether it's someone in the, you know, tequila business, whatever the case may be. And I think for Ricky, his passion, when each of us met him at one point or another, and we all kind of looked at each other at some point and said, we've got to have this guy on the podcast. Like, I have never met anyone in my life who's as passionate about tequila as Ricky Camacho.
Or knowledgeable.
It's like infectious.
Yeah.
The guy
incredible.
has gone to Jalisco. Like, he just, as deep down the rabbit hole as we've continued to dive in cigars, he's done that in tequila.
Absolutely.
And he opened all of our eyes up to all this artisanal tequila, understanding how to discern what's worth our time, what's not. And I'm just so grateful that that we got a chance to meet
He's
him
a
and learn from him.
tequila som.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And again, another spirit that I avoided
Same.
before
Not
before walking into 1086. And
I'm with you, Bam.
me. I know
too.
other guys here are
I
tequila.
never avoided it.
No,
Yeah.
you don't avoid anything.
No, but Bam, to your point, I mean,
Yeah.
without the podcast and this friendship,
Well,
we're talking, for me specifically, but we're talking the deep dive on champagne.
Yep.
We're talking the deep dive on tequila, cognac,
Scotch.
now
Look at all the
Armagnac,
scotch we've
Scotch. I
And
mean,
Scotch.
The
we've
Armagnac
really,
is ridiculous.
but the
right?
Scotch wasn't as much of a revelation.
Cognac and
we were
Armagnac.
drinking it, but cognac, Armagnac,
Unusual.
and non-alcoholic beer as well.
But I want to go a little deeper. Like, it's not just the podcast, it's every cigar lounge across the country gives every cigar smoker an opportunity to meet someone and learn about that person, what they do, and learn something new. That's what I love about smoking cigars.
And we hear that from listeners too.
Yeah.
They'll sit down
Yeah,
and
yeah.
say, I went to a lounge, I brought some cigars, and you know, I met some
Absolutely.
great folks. And
Yeah.
it's this community that it's just an incredible community. out
It
there.
is.
It really is, and I'll never forget this. I was sitting in our former lounge, and I'm sitting across from Senator, and we're having a conversation, and I think there were other people there, then maybe there weren't. I can't remember, but remember, and he said, you know, he goes, the cigar is the great. He goes, it's the great equalizer.
Yep.
And because we were talking about the group, and we were talking about, you know, we got a cool thing. It was like right before the podcast concept and talking about recording these kind of conversations we'd have, because we were having conversations that were exactly like that we're having now, but just more informal.
None of us would have met each other.
No.
So let's take the geography out of it. We're all in different industry. We're all at different points in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, it's this cigar, this thing of ours, to your point, that has brought this very diverse group of human beings together. I mean, it's incredible.
Right. And I think that the like the tie that binds is kind of this notion that cigar people are like, so they're most, not all, but most are kind of social animals. You know, they want they're into relaxing, appreciating things that are good. But they're also social. I think at the core, I think most cigar smokers want, you know, to have a conversation. Most, not all, but want to have a conversation. They're interested in people. They're interested in things, and they appreciate good. They appreciate things, and I think that plays into it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this is a hobby that you can't enjoy everywhere. You have to seek out a place, especially in the wintertime, where you're going to be able to sit down and actually enjoy a cigar. And the number of people that are going to go and pursue somewhere that they can actually sit down and have that experience, right? That's a small but very strong population of lizards. And I think it's there that, You're not sitting in a cigar lounge just on your phone the whole time.
No.
There's no virtual, technological component to this.
Nope.
You're having conversations with people that you're meeting from all walks of life. And, that line, it's the great equalizer. When I lived in DC, Shelley's Backroom that I've talked about obviously many times. One of the things I love, I'll be honest, I was frustrated with Shelley's about, and then I grew to really appreciate Shelley's for at least 10, if not more years, installed something in the ceilings that scrambled cell signals, and you could not get cell service in Shelley's by design.
Like it.
It was the craziest thing I had seen. I was like, why are they making my life so difficult to communicate with the outside world in here? But it was brilliant because it forced people to get off their phones and appreciate what this is all about.
That's great.
And
That's
mingle
awesome.
and talk.
Awesome.
And
is that for real?
I kid you not. I've asked the owner. Because when I was in DC, I lived a few blocks. And my first apartment in DC was a few blocks
They're
away.
Blocking that shit?
Blocking cell service from inside the place. You want to take a call or do anything? Go outside. Not in here. This is to appreciate what we're smoking, to talk, to enjoy each other's company.
Is it still like that?
So there was finally so much pressure within the last few years. They finally got rid of it. Now you can get service in there. But I just thought it was brilliant. And it was someone who I met in there and we were chatting and he said, it's really the great equalizer in the sense that he's like, I never would have met you if it weren't for this place. And even if they didn't have this, we might have been in here. We wouldn't have spoken to each other.
Right.
We might have sat at separate tables, been sitting there on our phone the whole time, and we wouldn't have actually had this happen. And so it was just such a revelation for me. And I really respect kind of what they had built at that place because it's a very communal kind of environment. And we're lucky that we've been able to find so many other places that we're able to, enjoy ourselves like that.
Oh yeah.
I was taking a cynical lens to that and suspecting some kind of covert psyops who is trying to dissect your cell service and stuff like that.
And that's Grindr, guys.
But the sentiment that you're relaying here is something that I've reflected on a lot because for me in my life, this is something that's important to me. Interacting with you guys, having friendships with other men who have like interests and you can just talk. And I'm not trying to be silly or too deep on this, but a lot of my day is spent in front of a screen or managing chaos with a toddler and a baby and a stay-at-home mom and my office upstairs and traveling all across the country. And there's just a lot of bullshit. And I don't get to smoke as many cigars as I used to. But I do look forward to connecting with you guys because I need that connection.
Yeah,
and
we all do.
I need to sit here without looking at my damn phone. And I need to. This is something that I think men need, and we should embrace and have this place of ours to share in our frustrations, our joy, our love, and every time I leave, I'm inspired by you guys. And I get a little burst of energy and I crave it. I find myself seeking it out. And it's not so much the cigars. It's just like the atmosphere, the talking about things that are introspective, talking about things that are mundane. It doesn't matter. And that's what I think that's something that we can all enjoy and embrace. And I'm sure our lizards enjoy as well. They're lizard listeners.
And, before we get back to the cigar, we have to note that since this podcast started, we've had two lizards that had babies.
Yeah, man.
Grinder and Senator. We've gone through this journey.
We have lizard infants.
Lizard infants.
Yeah.
True lizards.
Geckos.
They're like
Geckos.
They're like little geckos.
They graduate to lizardhood.
Like mini iguanas.
Yeah. Incredible.
You'll be
How many life things we've all experienced together and still experiencing now. I mean,
Once
it's
reading cigar
incredible.
magazines.
That's what I was going to say. You'll be proud to know my son's first proper crawl was to pursue a Cigar Aficionado magazine that I had on the floor, and he crawled right up to it and grabbed it.
This is.
Did you whisper in his ear bullshit ratings?
Padrón.
I was gonna say this is like an era for me in my life, and it's around these things, and there's clear lines of transition in my life from buying a home, getting a dog, having a baby, and getting married, and I've shared all that with you guys.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
And now it's who I am.
Yep.
And I get to. God damn, I'll be friends with you guys for life if I have any control over that, right?
Yes, sir.
it's something that I really value, and I'm so grateful for all of you.
And the fact that we've been able to extend that beyond these walls, through these microphones to these amazing people out there that listen to us every week.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like a formative moment with this group and our podcast was when we started getting emails from listeners.
Or how about gifts?
And now there's
spirits and
cigars we're revealing. I mean, we have a run of cigars coming up that are all listener sent.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
That's incredible.
But you know what? I got to mention something about none of this would happen without Gizmo.
Of course.
No.
There would not be a podcast.
Our fearless
That's
leader.
true.
That's true.
So we're very grateful to you.
I wanted to let everybody know, now that we're at episode 100, Bam Bam's going to be taking over as the producer of the podcast.
I'll be like,
no.
Mrs. Bam Bam, get the checkbook. We're going to hire this out. I'm subcontracting that work.
And the podcast is over.
No. And Bam,
Episode 101 will be airing in 2026.
We're on hold for about a year.
Senator, as Bill O'Reilly would say.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. We will leave you with I can't do it.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
That Bill O'Reilly moment was hilarious. That was early on.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
Pagoda, something happened with Pagoda's headphones or his mic or something.
Oh, yeah. Giz started losing his shit.
And then Puma pulled up the clip. Incredible. So, boys, we're about halfway through here on the Padrón 50 Years Maduro, the hammer.
halfway for some.
Yeah, but Pagoda's almost done.
Yeah, he is.
He's going to have to light another one. True episode 100. You're going to have 2 50s tonight.
No, absolutely.
But this is incredible.
At this point, I feel like what's going to enhance the flavors we're getting, we have an additional pairing tonight that I think we absolutely need to dive into.
Let's do it, boys.
Please.
So we have the Balvenie, which we've done, I believe, 2 other Balvenies on the podcast. We did the Doublewood 12 that we all love and the 14
Caribbean.
year Caribbean cask.
Fantastic.
And tonight we have the 21-year aged Portwood, which was an expensive bottle.
Special.
Yeah, aged 21 years, finished in port casks.
Giz, are we allowed to take a drink now?
Let's take a sip, boys.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
It's fantastical.
So now so this is a $350 bottle.
Oh, man.
21-year aged Scotch.
Which, you know what's a shame? During the pandemic, during 2020, this bottle was $250. It's gone up $100.
No, what's crazy, dude? This was actually marked down where I bought it from $420
That's
to
amazing.
$350.
Wow.
That's like Habano's price model.
Am I
Are
crazy?
people drinking that much scotch anymore that like these prices are justified?
I'm sure.
I
Oh,
guess.
yeah.
We're
Guess
still
who we
paying?
have to thank for that?
The Asian market.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
But, things are going to change.
Things are changing in Asia.
No, even over here, as people go back to work, I think a lot of the drinking's going to be down and a lot of the cigar smoke is going to be down.
I think the drink it got. I mean, if people are going back into metropolitan areas and commuting, there's going to be more city drinking elements as well. But you're not going to be finding these rare, high.
Yeah, I'm talking about the bottles, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The prices hopefully will stabilize.
Yep.
All right, that's it. I think inflation speaked.
So you know what I want to say about our pairings tonight? On the first half of the cigar, I really liked having the Pol Roger with it. And now that we're kind of at this halfway point,
Wow.
moving to the Balvenie it's an amazing start to that second half of the experience tonight.
The experience has become much richer and bolder, and I think the pairing is outstanding. And if I'm crazy, maybe I'm crazy for you, all of you experts in this room, when I take my first sip on the front, I feel like I'm tasting the barrel itself. I can taste that barrel. It's unusual. It's like a oaky, a little sweet, and very rich, and a faint hint of sherry in the background. It's fantastic.
I don't know anything about this scotch, so this is a blind.
That's also
tasting for me.
surprising.
Yeah.
I think it's
shocking. Is this the first time you've
I
had
know,
this?
This is
right?
the first time
He's
I've had
dumbfounded.
Me too. I've not had this before.
And
And we
Wasn't
pursued it.
expecting that.
Neither was I.
It's definitely blind, and it's definitely delicious.
This is the most aged Scotch I've ever had in my life.
Really?
21 years, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, this is really, you talk about pairing complexity. The complexity that we discussed in this cigar, even at its halfway point, it's still throwing things at me that I'm not expecting. The draws are brilliant. Every draw I'm getting a little something different. And when I put this Scotch in my mouth and draw the cigar with it, I'm actually getting more.
You are.
I think I'm getting more of the
Yeah,
earthiness. I'm getting more of the cedar. It's really a match made in heaven.
Yeah, for me, it's pulling more sweetness out of the cigar. For me personally, yeah,
for sure.
This is you can definitely taste that port, Ben.
right?
Yeah, it's like an aftertaste of port.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Really, it's right there.
Yeah.
This is the thing I think Balvenie does better than anybody with Scotch. We Giz mentioned we did the Caribbean cask, right? That's finished in a ex rum barrel. This is finished in an ex port barrel. The flavor that, and the crazy thing is, like, this is 21 years. If you read on this box, it says the first 20 years are in, it doesn't specify, so either American oak or a sherry cask.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last year that's finished in the Portwood cask.
And it's taking so much of that on
Exactly.
in 1 year.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well,
and I think you get that throughout what they do. Like, same with the Caribbean cask. You get those like little rum notes in there.
Mhm.
It just like balances out the flavors so well. I haven't seen really any other distillery in Scotland do that as well. Like, when they finish it in a particular type of cask that's had some other spirit before, you really get it. And it's not in like a gimmicky way that it overpowers the traditional Scotch notes you would get. It just complements it perfectly.
Yeah, and you have to assume because port is so rich, that brief moment that it's in that cask, it just takes so much flavor out of it because it's so rich, right?
Or we even, I guess, I mean, Dalmore, I'm not a huge fan of, but we did that Dalmore cigar malt once,
That was incredible.
and that was finished in like, I think an ex wine barrel.
That was delicious.
And we were getting those notes.
Yeah.
We were like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
It's these blenders and I mean, some of the stuff they do is just remarkable.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of a fruit note that's going on in the bat, but it's not overpowering.
Mm-mm.
And that port comes through. But I could argue that drinking champagne through this whole cigar
would have been
is fantastic.
Yeah, it would have been just fine.
Well, it's just fine. I mean, it's actually.
I was
We didn't need to drop the 350. The
Well,
Pol Roger
no,
would have been fine.
Yeah, I mean, because the interplay of this cigar is very balanced, and I don't want to imply that it has any kind of overpowering strength at all, because it doesn't. For me, it's
I agree.
super balanced, but the cleansing aspect, like how the champagne cleanses your palate between draws, like, to me, if I actually had to choose between taking a journey, if you're like, all right, you can drink champagne or you can drink this through the cigar, I'm drinking the champagne through the cigar.
Mm-hmm.
No, but you
Like-
know what
like-
it is?
like-
What you
like-
start off with, right? If you were doing the Balvenie from the very beginning, then
you're sticking with that.
then you're sticking with that.
I'm
yeah.
I'm
Maybe.
happy with the half
Maybe.
and half here.
I'll be honest. So obviously I'm love champagne. I'm obsessed with champagne, but for me, perfectly candidly, I prefer champagne with Cuban cigars. And I prefer a spirit with more body with New World cigars. Now, to Puba's point, I do think, and everybody I think agrees on this, that first half paired really well with the champagne. So I
totally
take
agree.
nothing away
Totally
from that.
agree.
But I do think this, as you, especially once we get to the last third, it's going to pick up even more. And that's where I think it does benefit from something with a bit more intensity and structure, like a Scotch, especially
Sure.
something this premium,
Mm-hmm.
that just personally I prefer as a pairing. But with Cuban cigars, I mean, truly, we've obviously talked many times about the night out on my deck, the caviar night. That night,
I don't
we were
remember that
drinking-
night.
Well, most of us remember, not Gizmo.
Everyone except you.
We're not surprised.
I think that's a night we should discuss.
Wasn't the plumber called that night?
I became the plumber that night.
I tried. I got fired as the
Yeah.
plumber.
Senator had to come out with like tools that like he had never used that he bought off of Amazon. And he was
They
like,
still had
Harbor
the
Freight.
They still had the plastic on them.
yeah, they still had like the plastic on like the top of on the top of the wrenches and stuff, and like bringing this thing out.
All I
Like, dude.
remember from that night is Senator telling me, "Can you get Gizmo out of this bathroom, please?"
He was in there for like the funny thing for the listener. Just imagine we're out on the deck and I'm looking through the
Christ.
sliding glass door into my own house, and there's a line to use the restroom. I'm like,
I mean, there are
why
only
would there
7
ever?
of us.
We're men. How long does it take to use the bathroom? I'm like, how could there be a line? And I go in, and Gizmo's been in there for God knows how long, trying to unclog a sink that he's clogged.
This is a form of an accountability.
This
not the second time, Bam. A year and a half later.
Oh, it's well deserved.
He lives that reality every week we do this. So
He's lived it 100 times.
I'm very bitter about it.
I'm still on retainer, by the way. So
Yes, you are. Send me your invoice.
And the sink is very beautiful. And
Very modern,
very
minimalist.
modern and minimalist.
Yeah.
And it's like the last type of thing that the sink was designed to accept
Was a gizmo.
was vomit. And why, no one still to this day really knows why the vomit actually ended up in the sink
Instead of the toilet right next to
instead
it.
of the toilet right next to it. So it was a complete loss of function.
I think that night to me made me realize that you're just you need to mature your palate when it comes to liquor. And I was thinking to myself, I feel like this is the first time this guy's puked because of booze. Because like
It wasn't. No.
God damn it, Grinder.
Ask Rooster about his car.
I love this segue.
Oh no! It was not the
Chivas
first,
Regal.
It was not the first time he puked.
Rooster's car went from gray to green.
accountability hour redux. This is
Oh, God.
Are we going here? Or are we not going here?
Two very memorable episodes on this podcast, boys.
We'll get
Yes,
the young
two
guy
very
a break.
memorable episodes. I mean, hey, look, Giz had to do payroll. It was 2 a.m. and he said, I have to go do payroll. And I looked at Rooster. Rooster looked at me, and we said, payroll? It's 2 a.m.
It was a Saturday night.
No, it was no.
People got to get paid.
It was a Thursday
It was
night.
a Thursday night. I can remember because I left.
You left.
Because I
And we got kicked out of the lounge and we went to
Yep.
another place to smoke, and it all happened there.
Well, yes, that's true. And then I proceeded to save your life.
You did. Oh no, I'm very grateful, as I said on that episode.
Yes.
But I think
I think Rooster has some life-saving skills in this narrative as well. Like,
Yeah, he got you home.
you chauffeured him home.
yeah,
I
drove
did.
me all the way home, and I lost my glasses. I left my
his,
glasses in
his
the
car paid the price.
Oh yes, that's right.
But
You're a
to the
good
car
man,
wash
Rooster.
in the morning.
You're a good man.
It wasn't so bad,
Dude.
but I do think that
No.
My man, Rooster. Thank
It
you,
wasn't
bro.
bad.
Thank you.
but that favor was returned.
I
I
haven't
guess to Rooster as well.
Wait, what? Wait, what? Did I miss something?
No, it wasn't.
Too much non-alcohol.
all right, maybe.
It's just funny because I don't see that.
Pagoda's keeping secrets.
I
All right,
don't-
we leave it at that.
I don't see that.
You were
amount.
there.
You were there.
The Boniello's night.
He drove me home, but that was it.
That
That was the extent.
There was
We'll
no
never
car.
know.
There was no
That
car
was the
wash
extent.
needed.
We will never know.
There was no car wash needed.
No symatizing.
We choked what was it? Raccoons that night.
Oh, boys, this thing of ours, it's beautiful. even in its nightmarish moments,
I remember.
it's still beautiful.
I remember you.
Oh,
He's
God.
looking at me. He's looking at me, and Mr. Singh. He's pouring Chivas Regal, and Giz puts his hand over his cup.
And
And he
pours
pours
he
it through
moves
his
His
finger.
hand over his cup, and Mr. Singh just looks at him, and this guy's got a turban on. There are knives in it.
Knives in
Shit.
it.
Like he's fully weaponized. This guy, he's like a restaurant owner. He's a millionaire, and he looks at him, and he just like moves his hand away, and gives his hand away, and just fills his glass up with Chivas. And Giz is like,
I remember him pouring through
Giz is
his
just like-
fingers.
He poured through the
Poured it
fingers.
through the fingers.
He's just,
It's like, no, you must.
no, you must.
Indian hospitality.
Yes.
How do you say no?
Yes, and he was like, okay, and then 25 minutes go by, and he goes, I have to do payroll. And we're like,
was not good.
That's bullshit.
It was all of a sudden. I got to do payroll.
Giz is so uncomfortable right now. If this were a video podcast, you would see him riding in his seat.
I love it.
I'm moving. I'm squirming.
Stop squirming. He's adjusting the mic endlessly and needlessly.
Giz knows the truth. He can edit all of this.
That's true.
And I won't because I'm content first, boys.
All right.
So I have a little surprise for you guys tonight.
Wow.
That I haven't shared with you.
You always have surprises.
That I thought was pretty cool. So earlier this year,
even after all the stories we just told?
After all the stories.
I don't know. I'll pass on the Bouchard.
No chocolate. So earlier this year, I had this brainy idea. I was working with an artist that I know, who I love, and he does some amazing stuff. I have actually some things in my home that he's done, and I actually had a lizard watercolor done, custom.
What?
That I got you guys all prints of.
What?
And I sent him pictures of all of us, and he built
what the fuck
lounge
is this?
scene
I got to get up and look at
of
this.
the lizard. So I'll pass it.
What is
No,
it?
no,
I'll pass
no,
it to
no,
you
no.
guys.
We have to get up.
So
This
this
is
is-
Who is that?
This is the 7 of us in abstract. I
Are
told
you
him not to
joking?
make it
Whoa.
too crazy, and
That's
I
beautiful.
I actually see pagoda clearly.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So here you are, boys. You can take it.
Pass it around.
I see Rooster's head.
So it's abstract. It's not. I told him I didn't want absolute likenesses, but I asked him to make a cigar lounge type of view. You can see the lizard logo in the back.
And when we start the Lizard Lounge,
You can see the lizard logo on the wall.
How many people are in that?
I told him to put 8. I actually sent a picture of Lizard John. You can see Lizard John's in there too.
oh wow,
It was right after John passed.
So is that a scene from here? or
No,
is
it's a
it
scene.
just-
I asked him to just make something abstract with
Ah.
watercolor. I sent him some photos. I said, use these as reference and kind of
Wow.
paint his vision of
Holy
what a cigar
shit.
lounge is. So I actually have prints for all of you
It's
guys
amazing.
oh wow.
that I'll give you in the coming weeks. But
Amazing.
it's a pretty
Beautiful.
large
That is
watercolor done.
That's a tremendous gift.
yeah.
And
it's
I'm looking
awesome.
at you with serious eyes. Thank
I
you.
love you guys.
Tremendous.
And I love this thing of ours.
That's crazy.
So I have that hanging in my office now.
Wow.
As again, it's abstract, but
Yeah, it's cool.
Huzzah.
I sent the 7 photos of the
Oh my
boys.
God, Is that me with the glasses, like in a huge?
It could
cloud of
be.
smoke
It could
on the
be. There's
left?
no specifics of who's who. It's very abstract. I just sent some photos and he painted a picture of a cigar lounge.
I think the only one that's not in the abstract is Rooster on the left.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
This is wild. Oh my God, it's heavy.
Yeah, so I had it framed at Michael's, but I have prints for you guys in frames coming.
Fantastic.
I didn't want to bring it all tonight because it would have been a lot.
You are the
but,
man.
But yeah, so I got that done earlier this year.
Oh,
It's really it's pretty cool.
That's
The guy
too
named-
much. Too
so
much.
Artist is named Frank Koran, Koran. He does incredible watercolor work of buildings, of people. And yeah, so I had him do this.
Amazing.
I think I talked to him in March.
Beautiful.
And I've been holding on to this for 3 months.
Oh wow, Giz, thank
This
you.
is
so
why
much.
you.
was
This is
fantastic.
why you have a good frame guy.
I do have a good frame guy.
Yeah.
I think I'm the balding guy in the glasses on the left hand side. Maybe I
thought that was Rooster.
That is Rooster all the way.
Is that me or is that you?
So that I like this discussion. I said, don't make it specific. I wanted it to be abstract.
Yeah.
And you can see Lizard John in there too.
Cool.
So yeah.
Oh,
Very
Lizard
cool.
John. Oh.
Very cool.
You should let his sons know that
I
he
will.
was included in that.
Yeah.
I wanted to let you guys know first, of course, but
You.
yeah.
You.
So I actually already have frames and stuff. I'm just waiting on the prints and yeah. You guys will have them in the next few weeks.
I think
Awesome.
that's so cool.
Thank you so much.
I think that's so cool.
That's awesome.
It's really awesome. He's a good artist.
Yeah. And I sent them the Lizard logo to put in the back.
I see
I
that.
like
So I
that.
said that
Yeah.
has to be in there. I don't
Oh,
care
yeah.
what else is in there, but the
Oh
the
God,
Lizard
yeah.
logo.
I
like
think-
that.
Would you
has
say
to be
that's
there.
that's so from the left? That's me and then Pooba.
Senator Pooba.
That's Senator on the left.
On the left?
Excuse me,
the left.
Rooster. I'm sorry, Rooster Pooba. I would say that's me. I
The
would
guy-
say
The guy standing up is Pagoda.
Who
Yeah,
am I?
Pagoda.
Honestly, I
I
think
think
I'm
I'm
clue who
standing
I
up.
am in that.
I think
that
I'm
could be Senator there. I don't
That's
know.
true. That could be.
That's Lizard John with the hat.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes
My
sense.
man.
So yeah.
Beautiful.
That's got to be Pagoda standing up.
I think I'm standing
Yeah.
up. I think Pagoda's sitting down. He's darker. He's a darker man.
So I'll put this up on the Instagram so the lizards can.
fucking racist.
Oh Oh, let's keep it
Sorry,
civilized.
I cursed. Is that okay?
Okay, Dad.
It wouldn't be the first time. It won't be the last.
That's awesome,
I
guys.
love it.
Yeah, it really
That's
is.
really cool. I mean,
I love it.
it is really. It's a really cool paint. It's just a cool painting.
It's excellent.
It's really excellent.
Yes, you guys will have prints of it soon.
Mm-hmm.
I want one. I'm going to put one in my office.
Yeah. And I wanted it to be abstract enough that if somebody came in your office, they're not like, oh, that's you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's just a portrait of that experience that we're talking about, sitting in a lounge with your friends,
Mhm.
having cigars, in conversation, maybe 2-3 conversations happening at the same time. It's really depicting
Look at your bad self.
this thing
Oh,
of
yeah.
ours.
Yeah.
You
Look
know?
at your bad
This,
self.
listen, we're very lucky, man.
When
It's
you do
awesome.
something like that, that's abstract, it makes it timeless.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
I
nice.
just Gizmo.
Look
You've,
at
out-
yourself.
you've
The
outdone
gizmo-
yourself.
The growth is just unbelievable.
The growth.
Look at him.
I mean, we went from puke stories to here's a custom painting.
He's commissioning art now. Look
He
at
is
this.
a
It's
commissioning art.
unbelievable.
He's commissioning art. He went from eating Bouchard chocolates, puking in his car,
Wearing hoodies.
puking in your sink, and now he's commissioning art.
I think
And he's a technical genius.
I think all of us go through that cycle at some point. His learning curve was just a little steeper than the rest of us.
And pretty intense, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's from Costco all the way to Balvenie 21. I mean,
Oh yeah.
if you would have graphed that within a year.
Speaking of Balvenie, this is the port on this is so. I think right now it's blending perfectly.
It really
with
is.
the
Yeah.
cigar.
Yeah, I just took the band off of my cigar, and I'm definitely sensing it, as Senator was saying, starting to pick up a little bit
A bit.
in strength, but it's still so smooth.
Very smooth.
Like, I would say it's not a medium cigar. I would say it's a full cigar, but the delivery is just so complex and smooth.
It's
Yeah.
world class, man.
Oh, sure.
I mean, this is like
Oh, man.
The funny thing about
Round
this this Balvenie 21, so a few of the lizards will remember this. I think Rooster was definitely there. I think Bam was there during COVID when some of us had went up to Woodstock. Basically, everyone was so cooped up. And we had organized at our former lounge just a little trip up to this hotel that a guy knew the owner of
Oh, yeah.
during the pandemic. So we
Wonderful.
could just go somewhere. And they had a great giant fire pit. We brought a bunch of cigars and we did a little fun thing with scotch where we said everybody has to bring a different bottle of scotch. Nobody can bring the same thing.
Nothing younger than 12 years.
Nothing younger than 12 years and nothing more than, I think we set a cap on like maybe $150 a bottle. Everybody followed that except one, our very good friend Dave, who brought
yeah.
the Balvenie 21 Portwood. And then we had tried all these different scotches and we did like a kind of blind ranking of which were our favorites. And this one handily, as you'd expect. I mean, it is just, honestly, to me, this is one of the best high-end scotches,
Sure.
period.
Yeah, most of the scotches that are over 18 years old, they're not interesting, right? We prefer the 12-year for some of those makers. This is different.
And the other thing I will say, again, I've been very lucky. I've had 30-year scotches, some crazy stuff. A lot of those higher, more aged scotches, some of them are too intense. Like they have a real serious bite. Like
They're not enjoyable.
for me, a really premium spirit, you kind of just want to be able to appreciate neat. We're all drinking this neat, every single one of us, and enjoying it. It's smooth but flavorful and complex. And a lot of these other ones I've tried, they're just so aggressive. I'm like dying to just throw a few ice cubes in there because
Yeah.
it just needs to mellow out. So I just think it's like the perfect pace
Yeah.
for like a really enjoyable kind of refined evening.
Yeah.
I think, and that's exactly it. I think if I'm going to sit at home and sip a scotch on a birthday, Christmas, something, I'm not going to go this crazy. But in a moment like this, where you're celebrating with friends, people you really care about,
Mhm.
this is delivering what I think is the value that I'm getting out of it tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really excellent scotch.
You know, the more I drink it, I'm getting honey notes. It's settling in, and it just gets tastier and tastier as I get deeper in.
So I'll read it has tasting notes on the side of the box. It says, a perfume of ripe raisin notes and fruit skins is backed by a dryness with hints of almonds and walnuts. To taste it is silky with fruit, syrupy honey sweetness, as Bam was saying.
Yeah.
Leather oak. A number of guys talked about the oak
Yeah.
in the barrel. Tannins and notes of ginger and cinnamon. Its finish is long, gentle, and nutty. I think that fairly well sums
Pretty
it up.
accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the times when we read these tasting notes on the side of the box, it's a little.
I mean, we keep trying to look for
Can I
those
get a little
Too
honeysuckle? in my-
aspirational.
Oh yeah.
I think contrived.
Yeah, yeah, and forced. Yeah, it's it's like fruity decadence, right? I mean, it's
No honeysuckle tonight.
as we've laughed about, but this is just it's just such an excellent spirit, even at its age. I mean, and the fact that it's only been in a port barrel for under a year is shocking. How much you're getting of that finishing flavor.
But it's not overwhelming, the port.
No,
It's just like a little, you just get it, it's definitely there, but it's not something that you're like, wow, you don't taste, it doesn't feel like you're drinking a port, in other words.
No. How much is a bottle of Macallan 18?
$3.50.
But around this price.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, please.
So you see what I'm saying?
I'd have this any day of the week.
I'd take
over
this
that.
10
I would
times out
take
of
this
10.
over it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
And that's to Bam's point. The Macallan 18, we well prefer
The
take
12.
price out of it. Take price out of it. We well prefer the Macallan 12.
Yeah. Sherry cask.
Sherry cast. The
Sherry
black,
cask.
I think I'm the
Now,
exception.
Grinder, I was going to
Yeah.
say, Grinder, put your point of view forward because I know you love that.
I think I think if you go from 12 to 15 to 18, there are gaps that are there, and you can taste it. But the jump from 12 to 15 is I think it's very noticeable. I think the jump from 15 to 18 is very small. Nonetheless, I think the 18 is fantastic and is so smooth, and I love it. However, it's something that it's not something I seek out. I would if sitting down having a cigar, I'll go for a 12, 9 out of 10 over an 18 because 18 is just a special occasion for me.
But do you prefer this over the 18 Macallan 18? I mean, price point being the same.
No,
No.
but very soft. No, if that makes any sense.
No, that
And
makes
the
sense.
Macallan 15 is
Yeah.
it's not very good.
So-
I don't know.
I want to just go there. So I'm not far from where Grinder is in the sense that I recently this year re-explored Macallan 18, and I was very pleasantly surprised. It was much better than I remembered it. I think there is merit to Macallan 18. The value of the 12 year is just so hard to argue with. So with Macallan, we love the 12. I used to shit all over the 18, full disclosure. I've come to appreciate it more. I think everything Grinder has said about the 18 is exactly right. The only problem I have is the 15. So ironically, that night we went up to Woodstock during the pandemic, and I was telling that story where we had this. Someone brought Macallan 15. I really think Macallan, that one year, that one expression, they have like totally missed the mark. Like Macallan 15 tastes
Agreed.
nothing like the 12, nothing like the 18. It's harsh. It's got a bite. The flavors were muddled. That's the one thing I just really don't appreciate that they've done. And I love Macallan as a brand. The thing I'll give Balvenie credit for, I'm stunned. I think I've tried just about everything they make. I've had the 12, and there's two 12s, right? There's the 12 double wood and then the 12 single barrel.
That's right.
We've done the 14.
Yep.
I've had the 17, which I really like. We've all had the 21 now.
The Caribbean 14.
And every single one of those is
Delicious.
a great bottle.
They're delicious.
There's not
Balvenie is
one
the
of them
best.
that I have a problem with. Where Macallan, if they could just fix that 15, I really think that it's inconsistent with the brand.
I don't know. My experience with 15, I think I don't see the inconsistency there. I think for me, if Pooh were to ask me the question right now, thinking about it more, I'd probably say not a soft yes, but I don't know is the right answer.
You're saying between the Macallan 18 and the Balvenie 21.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because for me, the Macallan, when you have those gradations and then you justify with the price points, the only thing that I consistently came back to was like the jump from 12 to 15 and then jump from 15 to 18. The price difference is not commensurate with the taste difference, and that was always a little troublesome for me.
Got it.
And
So how much is the 15? I just want to point to that really quick. Is it like 175?
I think it's
maybe?
150.
150?
Yeah, it's
around
all
150. Yeah.
Okay.
But then again, sorry, it was $150 a bottle a few years ago. So now maybe it is closer to what you're saying.
While you're talking, I'll Google. I'll do some Googling really quick. Grinder. I didn't mean to interrupt.
But you know, like the way I look at Macallans and Balvenies are like Davidoffs and Padrones, meaning they're both very, very good.
That's a good point.
They're excellent. They're a go-to scotches.
Yeah, actually,
and they're go-to cigars.
Yeah,
I'm very glad, Pagoda. That's, I think, a brilliant comparison, and I just say that because when we were deciding what we were going to pair as far as a scotch for tonight, someone threw out like, should we get the Macallan Rare Cask? And I've had.
We actually had a couple listeners say, "Are you guys going to do this?"
Yeah,
and we threw that around.
So I was at a friend's place for dinner, and a fantastic friend who I have to just give quick credit to, because a lot of champagne that I've tried and fallen in love with and shared with everybody in this room has come from a friend of mine, Alex, in New York. And I mean, I think you guys remember when I'm, a 1990 something bottle of Veuve Clicquot, like, vintage, like crazy stuff I've drank with him. He's got an amazing palate. And we opened up a bottle of Macallan Rare Cask one night, and it drinks like a barrel strength, high proof bourbon. It's very, very aggressive. And for some people, I get like they like that. For me, I need ice. I cannot have something, and I know it is higher proof. I don't know what the proof on that spirit is.
You're very delicate,
but I mean, we're sitting here saying Macallan 15 is harsh, let alone this. And I just think like the analogy Pagoda makes, it's like, Davidoff, as much as there are some cigars that they make that we absolutely love, they come out with a lot of these really random releases, and they're very hit or miss. And I do think that Macallan, I mean, if you look, they have like, there's some crazy stuff. Like I've seen people bring it. I'm like, I've never seen that before. And it's this random release that Macallan came out with. And at the price point they're selling it at, you try it and you say, it's good, but it's really not great. And it's certainly not worth $300 a bottle. And you just don't have that happen with Balvenie. Like Balvenie just has a core line. There's no like random special releases. It's the 12, 14, 17, 21. That's it. They don't have these random other releases. So I kind of like the Davidoff Padrón comparison, and that's not to knock Macallan, because some of the stuff they make is incredible. And I think they make, in my opinion, the best 12-year, the sherry cask. But I almost wish they would just focus on a core line and not have so many others that I don't think live up to the same that the core line
Too many
does.
derivatives. Yeah.
And I just think, from my experience, obviously having the 21 now, I just think I prefer Balvenie as a pairing scotch to my cigars.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like I'm always reaching for Balvenie over Macallan when I'm having
even
a
the
cigar.
12 sherry.
Yeah, I love the double wood.
I
think I
prefer the double wood to the
with a
sherry.
cigar.
I think
I think
Puba
we've
would
discussed
probably
that
agree
before.
with you. I'm guessing.
Oh,
Yeah?
No.
No?
Thank you.
Okay.
Please
No,
make
I
my
don't-
case.
No, I know.
Please.
I
No,
don't
but
agree. No. I mean, the double wood is great. It's very approachable, and but it's not Macallan 12 sherry cask, which will always, forever, from now until eternity, until the earth disintegrates and then regenerates itself, will always be, to me,
We're
my
getting an
favorite
astronomical.
scotch of fucking all,
We're in the galaxy now.
Oh, yeah.
of all time.
I think
Okay,
this is a window into Puba's mind.
Like the Balvenie double wood. Yeah, do you see a lot of it in my locker? Sure, but you see a lot of Macallan in my locker a lot too. I mean, no. So the answer is no. It's a hard no. And Macallan 12 is the bee's knees, in my view, in terms of an all-around scotch on a desert island. If it's my last drink and I'm going to the chair, I'm having a Macallan 12. Period. Hard stop. No negotiation. That's it.
Yeah, I just think, for me, again, I'm not knocking Balvenie Doublewood. I
love it.
the Doublewood.
I have a bottle right here.
Right. I think when Puba says like it's very approachable, to me the difference is the Balvenie Doublewood is like supremely drinkable, that for like a night of volume consumption,
It's doable.
it's fantastic for that.
Yeah.
But I think the Macallan 12 sherry has more complexity. And so when I'm just going to have like a glass or two of scotch and I just want something to be complex and really pair with a fantastic cigar, I think that it's hard to beat the Macallan 12 sherry. That's the only thing.
And a conversation or anything. The Macallan 12 if you're going to sit down and have a talk, you're going to sit down with your dad. You're going to sit down with your best friend. You're going to me, if I'm in a bar, I'm just saying, I want you got Macallan 12, share. Okay, that's what I'm going to have. That's what I'm ordering when I'm out.
By the way, in Carnegie, we're known as the Balvenie corner. Everybody drinks.
Everybody drinks. Oh yeah, okay. I mean, I'm down with it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's too close to my heart. You know, it's too personal. It's personal. I mean, my dad's cat. It's named Macallan.
This is a family affair.
You know, right. I mean, it's like, he named his cat Macallan. It's Macallan, cat, animal, pet. The other one's named Brian Williams.
All right.
Because he came by during the nightly news, a stray, and he took it in. And it was during Brian Williams.
I love that the vet, by the way, the vet sends reminders like Brian Williams is due for his rabies shot.
Does he have a button in his litter box that closes the door?
Exactly.
No, that was Matt Lauer. That's the next cat.
No, I swear to God, though, this cat kept coming by. And finally, they take this cat in. He's down in Florida, and they take the cat keeps coming by. The cat comes by at the same time, and Brian Williams is on this. Called him Brian Williams.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
So there's Macallan. He's drinking Macallan, and then he's got a cat named Macallan, and then the cat comes by. And he calls him Brian Williams.
If I have another dog, which I probably will, Macallan is in the roster for potential names.
Absolutely.
You just call him Mac for short.
Mac.
That's
Mac. I was thinking the same thing.
Call him Mac.
Mackie.
Little Mac.
And by the way, all this cat does, it's totally not like a Macallan does, which is like foster. It's like a catalyst for like socialization. This cat hides under the bed like 24 hours a day. You can't even find this animal. You can't even find it. It doesn't even exist. It's hiding constantly. I'm like, where's Macallan? He's like, he's under the bed somewhere. He's somewhere.
I think it should have been named. It should have been named the drink with Rooster got last week.
A total introvert. This cat.
The Haitian rum.
The Haitian rum.
What's the Indian Scotch that you guys referenced before? The
Rampur.
Rampur.
This fucking cat's under a bed. It's like rolling its own cigarettes, having a fucking, you know what I mean? Like making appointments. You know what I mean? It's on a BlackBerry.
He still has a BlackBerry.
Right, sending its own emails and shit.
Oh God.
Giving zero fucks about anyone else in the house.
Got a whole world under there.
Exactly.
So, boys, what are some other moments that you can think of that you point to as seminal moments for you with the podcast? Anything come to mind? I know Pagoda's driving was a big one.
Yes, it was.
That was
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
I haven't been in a car with Pagoda since.
I don't think anyone should be.
I think that's why Pagoda got a car that drives for him.
Yeah, it's a Tesla now.
That's right.
I think the one of the most fun episodes and just general, like you could remove the mics from that night and it would have been the same, was the when we did the Partagas
Calabra.
Yeah,
that was
great. Wow.
That was special.
That was a great night.
That was a lot of fun.
That was incredible.
That was such a revelation. And you talk about cigars that we've done that when we were, even before we hit record, we're sitting there going, holy shit, what is this going to be like? Is this even like an episode that we're going to be able to do? And then we split these aged Calabras up. I think they were 12, 13, 14 years aged. I don't remember. That Rooster brought, and we light them, and we turned into like
giddy little boys.
Kids.
It was euphoric.
It was euphoric.
Yeah.
It was. I remember we're sitting there smoking, like, this is amazing. Poop is like, you know what would pair amazing with this right now? Champagne.
Yeah.
Champagne.
Senator, can you go to the cellar and get champagne? And I literally ran in, got a bottle, savored. Like, everything about that night was just so unexpected,
Spontaneous.
and unscripted and spontaneous. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I showed up like midway through the pod from like a work outing or something, coming out in Uber singing like some silly song, and I was already pretty drunk.
Had you guys had a Culebra before that night?
No,
never.
No.
I had not had.
No, because
one.
we thought it was
So-
gimmicky.
Yeah.
Every box of Culebras I ordered was after that night.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Same.
And there's, you talk about a value cigar. People don't seek that cigar out. So you can find reasonably aged stuff
They're available
at decent prices.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, I have some aged ones that I picked up, which I was lucky enough to pick up before the prices went up, and they age really, really, really well. I mean, phenomenally well. My hypothesis is that I would attribute it to one, it's really good tobacco. Two, that the closeness, that coffin that the Culebras come in, and how they set up over time together, just sitting together as three, it really just, I think, creates magic that if you haven't experienced it, do it, because it's a different experience. It's floral. It's got the Partagas DNA, but it's got this floral aspect to it that's really sophisticated. It's kind of ironic or in that it looks so ugly,
It does.
but it's also but it smokes
tastes
so
good.
elegant.
It's out. Yeah.
So for the listeners out there, Google Partagas Culebra right now if you don't know what we're talking about. So what it is it's three cigars, kind of. How would you describe that?
Intertwined.
It's like they're braided.
They're
Intertwined,
braided
yeah.
together
Braided,
and banded. They're rolled pretty wet, so they can do that. So when you take them apart, there's three cigars in there that you smoke or you share with two friends. We obviously took a couple braids apart for the podcast, and you take this thing out, and it's this crooked. Puba joked about Peyronie's disease. It's this weird. It's this weird looking cigar that you have in your hand. And it's like, what in the hell am I lighting? And then with this age on it, it was miraculous.
Incredible. It was incredible.
That
Fantastic.
was probably the first cigar that we did on the podcast that was an absolute shock.
The dessert notes that we got on that was off the charts.
Very sophisticated smoke.
Very.
Yeah, it was incredible.
In terms of flavor profile,
Yeah.
like they're very complex. They set up really nice. If you like Partagas, the DNA, it's funny because it's ugly, but so beautiful.
And that was some of the best Cuban tobacco that we've ever had.
Yeah.
Was that Partagas Culebra and
Absolutely.
that weird presentation.
I remember
Oh.
Bang being very excited about it for some reason.
Well,
Bam, this is Bam.
honestly, the first three draws into that, I was in love.
Well,
It
it's
was
very floral.
and a lot of dessert spice in that. A lot of cinnamon.
Yeah, it's got that. Then it's got that Partagas
There's
kind of DNA.
a biscuit note in there too. Delicious.
Really good.
God, I want to smoke one right now.
Me too, man. And we mentioned it earlier. It's just like because of the podcast, we put an episode out each week, alternating Cuban and non-Cuban. We have to explore these cigars and marcas and vitolas that we would have never reached for otherwise. And we've been able to share so many of those moments. I mean, it's honestly incredible how many
Yeah.
cigars that
Yeah.
that we now have in our tower because we said, you know what? Let's do it.
So many
On the
new
pod.
worlds we never would have considered buying ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and still don't consider buying.
No, that's not true. No. Not true at all.
And Puba has fallen in love with a few. You've fallen
You
in love
have.
with a few
You
new
have.
worlds.
Yeah, you have. You talk a big game,
You're
but
not always a grumpy old man over there.
My biggest surprise.
Let's talk about it.
My biggest surprise, speaking of New Worlds and Puba, was we were going through, I think, our short smoke specials.
we have one coming up, by the way.
And I remember we were talking about the papas fritas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
And I just remember looking over at Puba, and he's just got this funny smirk on his face as if this cigar wasn't new to him. And I'd never heard Puba mention a papas fritas before that.
Yeah. And he told us a secret.
And he told us a little secret. He's like, I may have some of these in my humidor. And he kind of kept it quiet from us, but he was very familiar
He's
with
very
the papas
selective
fritas.
what photos he sends on the group chat
Oh, yeah.
and what photos he does not.
Well, as a short smoke goes, the Papas Fritas, which is
By the way, we have that coming up
Liga
in a few
Privada,
episodes.
right?
Yeah, it's a Liga Privada Papas Fritas.
It is a good short smoke. It comes in a little tiny 50 cab, and they are actually good.
They're delicious.
But I mean, but more broadly, I mean, we've had some real collision courses.
I mean,
We've had
look at
dogs.
look
We've
at the
had some head-on collisions.
look at the Las Calaveras,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
I can't even remember
at the
these
end of
names.
last
You know
year.
the names. I mean, what are the names?
There's some
What are the
rough ones.
worst cigars that we smoke?
We oh no.
Pull them up.
What
pull
Gizmo
'em up.
just said, that
Can
is
we
by
do a-
far
The worst.
the worst cigar we have ever smoked.
Was
on this
I
show.
here for that?
Kuba wasn't here for it.
I
No.
think you got very lucky.
Thank
He
the
was
Lord.
intentionally not here.
Thank
think
the Lord
we,
and Jesus, been baby Jesus, that I wasn't here. That I didn't have to waste.
the Drew Estates that we've tried were always pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
So some of the worst cigars we've ever smoked.
What are the worst cigars?
The Hoyo de Nicaragua Antonio was a 5.0.
Dude, that broke my heart.
Shit.
That really did because
So I'm with you, Grant. It's because it was a large ring gauge, which you should never smoke that in, and it was a little wet from
was a
that.
little wet.
Very
retailer.
wet. Yeah.
So another one that did not perform well was My Father the Judge. Got a 5.6.
Shit. I was there for that. That was shit.
San Cristobal de la
Shit.
Habana.
I was there for that.
La Punta.
La
Oh,
Punta.
La Punta. It's like a punt. On
It does
fourth
make
down.
it makes good
Punt.
fertilizer.
5.9 on that. The
Thank you again, Bam.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to do some fives. The Atabe Brujos Robusto got a 5.8.
That was a shocker, right?
This
that,
one-
that was an expensive one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that
was.
was.
Very
And
expensive.
this one was a major shocker.
Oh, I know where
The
he's going.
Opus.
Yep.
The yeah.
Oh, dude, that is so expensive.
That was a bad one. The Opus X Perfection 888. That was a 6.6. It wasn't in the fives. The one I was going to call as far as a major surprise for me was the Ramon Ionis LCDH Superioris.
Yes.
Which got a 5.7.
Very disappointing.
I'll skip over that one as we go through. What looks like the second worst cigar we've ever done on the podcast was a Cuban Hoyo de Monterrey Elegantis LCDH. So that's 2 LCDH cigars with that extra band under 5. That got a 4.8. The Caldwell Long Live the Queen, Queen's Sword, got a 5.1. And the San Cristobal, another San Cristobal, Edición Regional Hiram Malaya, the Malaysia regional, was a 5.8. And of course, the worst cigar that we've done in 100 and some odd episodes of this podcast was the Crowned Heads Las Calaveras EL 2022 with a 3.3.
Thank you,
That's
Henry.
like
Thank you,
that's
Henry.
that's like a fucking 0.
Yeah, that was a bad one. That was a bad one. You know, it's
I will say this though. I don't regret any of these cigars.
No,
and I
it's-
just say that because for any
Agreed.
of the things that
Agreed.
we're passionate about, that there's so much to try in that category. Like people say, how do you know all these wine recommendations? Because I've spent a lot of money on bad wine
Yeah.
to find good wine.
yeah.
It's just comes with the territory. And I think for all of us, it's like we've tried to navigate this cigar world, figuring out, what's great, what's not. And the only way to do it is to try it all.
Yeah.
And I think a huge value that hopefully we're providing for the listener is, saving them some money for some of these absolute duds that we would go so far as saying there is no smoker that would enjoy this cigar. Those are the cigars that they don't have to waste their time with,
Yeah.
that we've done that work for them. And for others, some of them, it's for a certain type of smoker, they would like this. And for others, they may not. And then obviously the spectacular ones that we think it doesn't matter what you like, you're going to love that cigar.
Right.
And I think that's a huge value add.
And there's a lot of cigars that have rated anywhere between the lizards here between 6 and 8.
Mhm.
And that's tying to your point of preference, just palate preference, which is why we put up the individual ratings. So, if you align with one of our palates more than another, it's helpful to reference that. But the cigars we just named were just everybody across the board was
Abysmal.
What are
was really bad.
What are the top 10 new worlds?
Top 10 new worlds. That's a great question. Hold on one
It's
second.
got to be the my father.
Well, there was the
Number
warped,
4.
the warped,
The
Don't
warped.
forget America. Don't forget
Lancero.
that's,
the
remember?
allegiance,
that's a great cigar.
Yeah. Okay. So some of the top cigars we've done here.
pledge.
Not new world.
The pledge.
The El
Allegiance.
Senador.
Pledge of Allegiance.
So do you want me to exclude Padrón or no?
No, keep it in.
Okay. So the best cigar we've ever reviewed as far as New Worlds go was on episode 53. We mentioned it earlier, the Padrón 80th anniversary in Maduro, a flat 10.0. The Davidoff Chef's Edition was a 9.2 from 2021. The Padrón 1964 Exclusivo was an 8.6. I think the second highest cigar we've ever done as far as New Worlds go, of course, boys, is the Arturo Fuente Don Carlos Eye of the Shark which was a 9.9.
Oh yeah,
that was an incredible
well
cigar.
deserved.
We've had a lot of 9s. Davidoff Millennium Robusto was a 9 flat. Warped Maestro del Tiempo was of the 5205. That was a flat 9. That was a great cigar that we all rushed out
for
to get.
$10 a stick.
I had never even heard of that market before we did that.
The Davidoff Millennium Lancero, 9.1. Padrón Family Reserve, number 85 Maduro, 9.2 was another good one. And the Millennium Pyramides, also from Davidoff, a 9.0. Another Davidoff, again, Padrón and Davidoff taking the heat here. Davidoff Late Hour Churchill, 9.2.
What about Cubans? What are the top Cubans? Top 10 Cubans.
So the top Cuban that we've done on the podcast was a flat 10, was the Ramon Ionis number 2 EL from 2019. That was a 10.0. Right behind that was the super aged, brilliant Lub 14 H. Upman number 2, which was a 9.8. Cohiba Lancero, 9.6. The Los Statos Deluxe Delirios from the 1970s that Rooster brought in, Connoisseur Corner, 9.7. And the Vegas Robania Classico, of course, that we did on the New Year's Eve episode was a 9.9.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so we've had some really,
Who
really
gave that a 9?
excellent
really?
cigar. I could tell you right now.
That's a 10.
I could tell you right now, his name is Pagoda.
Pagoda. God damn it.
Jesus.
You can't drive and wait cigar.
Hey, I got to keep it real.
You got to keep it real.
That's a 10.
That is a 10.
That cigar is a fucking 10.
It's a 10 now. Listen,
it's a 10.
I give it a 10. A
On-
10. A 10.
On those ratings, though, it goes back to what Puba said before, and I appreciate him for this. Obviously, Puba's been very militant about age with cigars. And if you look at the only cigars I think that you mentioned that got a flat 10 across every lizard that rated it, 2. One was the Padrón 80th that already is aged, that I just tucked away for an additional 4 years and did wonders for that cigar. And the other was that Ramon Ionis Limitada that also, like Poob and I both bought boxes. He's the reason actually I had even pursued it in the first place. And when we both smoked those at first, we were very underwhelmed with that cigar. And I just tucked it back there and didn't touch it for years and brought it out for that pod. And age, that's how that got a 10. It was a dramatically different smoke from when we first got those boxes.
Sure. I mean, some other nines that we have to mention because we talked about them tonight. The Partagas Series D number 4 we did for the 2021 New Year's Eve episode, 9.2. The Coronas Calero QD, 9.4. That was a great cigar.
What about the La Gloria that we did? What did we rate that? Remember that?
Ooh,
the Turquinos. Turquinos.
The Turquinos was an 8.8.
Okay.
We did the number 2, right?
No, we did not. We did not do the MDO number 2.
Yeah. Oh, that would be, you know what
gotta
that's
do that
going to
one.
get.
But that one's been discontinued for over 10 years.
That's a ridiculous.
This is for the listeners. Gizmo has a cigar kebab right
nubbing.
now.
Like kebab.
Cigar kebab.
I have a perfect draw stuck in the end of my.
It looks like you're smoking a roach.
It's designed for that.
It is.
You
It's
know,
working brilliantly.
I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah,
I have to say, it's funny that Grinder.
This is the first time I've ever done this on the podcast.
That's true. I've never seen you do that. It's funny Grinder mentions this. For whatever reason, just recently, the number of guys I've seen, cigar smokers
In our club. Yeah.
in our club,
It's
even
hilarious.
outside of our club, that have put some form of a modified roach clip basically to really smoke that cigar all the way down to the end. I'm seeing this happen way more now than I've ever seen it. And there may be some merit to it. For me, it's very hard to imagine myself doing it.
Really?
But there,
I would like to see that.
Really?
it's just it's a little undignified, but
Go ahead.
there may be some merit to it.
Go ahead,
and
go
I
for
may
it.
be willing to try
I
it.
think
Let's
it
all
looks
go
very
for it.
classy.
I think we should all do
I
it
think
right
you
now.
look like a
What
very.
if I have the pinky out?
You look
So-
like a Victorian aristocrat smoking your little cigar, your little cigarette / cigar.
To Grinder's point, with the perfect draw, it actually does
looks
look
great.
dignified.
Yeah.
I've seen some guys doing it with a toothpick lately, and
The
it's
toothpick, yeah.
not quite the same effect.
But Senator, you will evolve for sure.
I will. I said on one of our
You'll
recent
get here.
episodes.
You'll get here.
I
It's
said on
all
one of
about
our-
value. You're squeezing as much value as you can.
I said on one of our recent episodes, I very much want to try, not with an expensive cigar, but clearly, if the guy, if
Alex
if-
Groom.
if Alex Groom, if Who's the guy that wrote the famous book before him?
Oh, Min Romney.
Right. If these guys are willing to pour liquid on a cigar and
tap
smoke
water. Tap water.
and say that it actually enhances their experience, I'm willing to try it.
So, but on what cigar would you do that?
Yeah.
Because they do it on aged, like heavily aged cigars.
Yeah, super old stuff.
Padrón 2000.
That's not a bad place to
You're
start.
you're not willing to risk.
In the year 2000.
So let me name some
year 2000.
Let me name some other Cubans that have done well while I have it up here. The H. Upmann Robustos Anahados that we love got a 9.6.
Spectacular cigar.
This one was surprising to me because I was expecting it to be a little bit of a dud. Just knowing how the Anahados program works, and the Robustos Anahados from Upmann being kind of an outlier. It wasn't. The Partagas Coronas Gordas Anahados got a 9.7. That was an excellent cigar.
Yes.
And the Caidorce Senadoras EL was a 9.0.
Yeah, I mean, can I editorialize for a minute?
Sure.
The Upmann Anahados from Robusto is
Great cigar.
Incredible.
knees, baby.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a great cigar.
Yeah. That is like 9. To me, it's a 10.
Yeah.
I'm sure I gave it a 10.
That just about a month ago popped up on one of our sites. I may or may not have scored another box of this.
Oh boy.
You know, one of
we know
the
you did.
one of the cigars I didn't mention that I should have, as far as New Worlds go, was the Davidoff Dominicana got a 9.2,
It's another great New
which
World.
is in Robusto is a great cigar.
It's an incredible cigar.
That's a lot. That's a
Have you
great-
guys
that's
had
a great
that in
score.
any of the other Vitolas? What is there?
Yeah,
One
short Robusto.
short Robusto. Is that? Would you compare that? Was that similar to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Robusto?
It's actually very good. I've
Pagoda
got quite
had
a
it
few
the
of
other
those.
night, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and by the way, it smokes really slow. Like
Really?
yeah, I mean,
Like you wouldn't put it on a short smoke special kind of thing?
No, I thought I was going to do it as a short smoke, but I ended up spending about an hour smoking that. So I was just pleasantly surprised.
Well, when we do the short smoke, are you going to mix it up or are you going to keep it like Cuban?
Cuban and we always do a Cuban and a New World. So what we have coming up on the short smoke special, actually in 2 episodes, the punch, short to punch, and the Papas Fritas that we just talked about. That'll
Oh,
be a good
that's
Did
one.
we do the half Corona? Did we do Partagas short?
Yes, we did.
We've not done the half Corona.
We
I
haven't.
believe we've done the
Oh my
Partagas short.
goodness. Actually, it's good we haven't done the half Corona
I thought
Yeah.
we
Because
did.
that's a 10.
because the supply of those would dwindle very quickly after that episode. So we're going to stock up before that.
We'll do that at some point. But yeah,
What
know,
the
we've,
Partagas short get?
I don't know if we've actually done the Partagas
I
short.
think
See,
we did. We
I
did
think
that.
well, if we're
I
gonna
thought
do
we
if
did.
we're gonna
I
do a
thought
short,
We did
if
both.
we're gonna review shorts,
Oh, we did do the Partagas short. It got an 8.0.
Right. And
Flat 8.
I think that's low.
It might have been a younger cigar.
Yeah.
Could have been. Could have been.
Because that out punches its weight class.
Yeah, it's a great cigar. And it only comes in, it comes in 25
and a 50
count
cap.
dress boxes, but you got to get the 50 cap.
You have to.
And you know what? They're pretty available. I mean, they've been coming up quite a bit on FOH and some of the other sites.
Punches out.
Just get the-
punches
just get the
way
50
out of
cap.
its weight class.
Just get the 50
That's
cap.
actually a sophisticated cigar, in a way.
Yeah.
It's.
So
very
the other thing we need to mention, boys, is Grinder and Puba weren't able to come with us, but we were able to go to Cuba, and we were able to learn so much about Cuban tobacco and the process, and it was just because of this podcast and this friendship that we ventured into Havana, and it was such an incredible experience.
The
going.
learning experience was tremendous.
and I get so many emails from listeners who are planning to go and are asking, what do I bring to give to the Cuban people? Those 4 episodes were a lot of fun for us.
I just think I quickly need to say, for every listener listening to this, please go to Cuba because for whatever reason, they're cutting direct flights.
Yeah, the
on
direct
Cuba.
flights are done.
So there's not enough tourism clearly happening. Please go to Cuba.
yeah.
I learned more in that week there
That's true.
than I have ever learned in my life combined about cigars.
Yeah. Everything from the cultivation and the whole process. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I'll point the listeners, if you're a listener who hasn't heard those episodes, check them out. If you're passionate about Cuban cigars, we did a deep dive on all things from culture to we visited a few factories.
The food.
We talked about food. We talked about everything.
The people.
Rum.
The people, rum. Oh my gosh, the rum.
The Santiago.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of rum, I've been drinking a lot of that Mount Gay rum that we did on
I
the
need to get that.
podcast. The Mount Gay XO. That's the closest thing to Cuban rum that I've ever had.
So I think Puba missed that episode. I think he was texting us while we were doing that. As someone who I know you appreciate rum, we all said that was the closest to Cuban rum that we've had. It was excellent. I was truly shocked
Yeah, I gotta try it.
And it's very reasonably priced. It's under $60.
Yeah.
Is this? It's not the regular Mount Gay.
Mount Gay XO.
Yeah. It's like their highest, like
Their highest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found it at my local retailer. They had it, which I was surprised about. And it's not high
the one.
proof.
It's not the one that they put in as a floater.
No. No, this is a really nice sipping rum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm.
And for cigar pairing, I mean, you can't beat it.
Where's that made?
Barbados. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to mention, boys, because I remember this is a seminal moment as far as our laughter goes on a very, very early episode. You know, the tennis finals just finished, the U.S. Open, and going back to
microfiche,
the microfiche Medvedev storing the microfiche
back in the garage days.
That was our, what was that, episode 1, 2, 3?
It wasn't one.
It could have been episode 1.
I thought it was 1. I thought
on
we
the
did
Maduro one. Yes,
Partagas Maduro.
Yeah,
Maduro
that's
number
when
one.
Grinder was the pitmaster that day.
Yeah,
that's right. He brought food.
Oh,
Yeah,
talked about
and
the food was good.
Talked about the Serengeti that day.
Serengeti.
We did.
and it's just it's amazing to me as I think about that, and I remember that laughter and thinking like, wow, that we have something that I think is going to be a lot of fun for us to do every week, and just thinking that that's almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, it seems like last month.
And the irony that like the final 2 years ago that we were all laughing about was
Same.
Medvedev and Djokovic, and 2 years later the U.S. Open final,
Same
the
thing.
exact same two guys.
That's right.
Yeah, he was a villain. He's a villain. We were just watching him throw temper tantrums. And I'm like, this guy.
He's storing the microfiche in his handle.
Yeah. He's so evil that he's like working with the embassy. He's working with the Russian embassy. He's like infiltrating shit. He's got microfiche. He's got data like in his tennis racket.
Can I ask a question as well? How many episodes did it take for Puba to break the first Adirondack chair
Oh yeah,
at the Senator Lounge?
Oh, it was a lot. It was 20 episodes.
20 something.
He
Yeah,
held
that's
up
about
for
right.
at least 20.
Because then we got him in a separate chair.
Yeah.
We got a director chair.
Puba had the director chair.
That's what we got.
Well, yes, I got a director.
And you felt at home after that.
Yeah.
What'd you say he
Senator
bought them
had
at-
to go to like Campmore and get me like he had to go to like the camping store and get me like a camping chair. I'll just say the Adirondack chairs he has in there were shit. They were bought at like Stop and Shop.
Oh, there is
They were on clearance.
There is a weight limit to them, but
Yeah, but I mean these are not meant for like real adults.
Real men.
No. These were.
I'll just say, Bam Bam's a formidable man. He did not break my chairs.
I almost broke a chair.
Well, he doesn't get as animated as Puba does.
No, I don't.
Dude, this thing was like all of a sudden it was lopsided, and then it just like collapsed on me.
The best part of it was while it was happening, just watching the entirety of that episode.
panic.
Puba is just getting lower and lower and
leaning-
lower to the
leaning to the
ground,
left.
and it was as if like his entire back was just parallel with the ground by the end of the episode. It was amazing. And he's finally like, "Is something wrong with this chair?" It was great.
And we concluded that the chair was destroyed.
It was defective.
It
Yes.
was totally defective.
That went out for bulk day. That's for sure.
Yeah. But then I received the special chair.
That's right. You got an upgrade.
I got an upgrade.
You definitely got
which
upgraded.
I was grateful for. Thank you. The whole thing that's going on right now with you, Giz,
It's all over.
and the nubbing thing you're doing is outrageous.
How's the ash doing?
It just fell all over
Senator,
my
is
pants.
this outrageous? Gentlemen, is this
I
outrageous?
love it.
I find it to be very civilized.
I like it.
I think it's a nice change of pace. It is something I hope you don't do often.
Okay. So in all my time of cigar
It's just
smoking,
visually disturbing. Am I
and
wrong?
all of the time on the podcast, is the first time I've nubbed a cigar.
Yeah, me too.
But I like the way he's
All right, I'm sorry. Not the first time Bam Bam's done that.
No, Bam does it all the time.
No.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You're like
I've seen you do that before.
you're the biggest proponent of a roach clip.
You're the fingertip formulary.
I do.
Like, you're like
Fingertip formulary.
You're like all over the finger. Like your
What does that mean?
I love the alliteration. That was great.
I do take cigars all the way down. That I do. I do that.
All right, boys. So we're coming to the end of our evening here. It's time to do 3 ratings Any final thoughts on this cigar or any of the two pairings before we rate them?
Just a very rich experience.
I mean, all three
all
really just delivered everything and more
of
certainly what I was expecting tonight. I'm really, really happy with all three.
Just a great night overall.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would just say on this cigar, I think the final third, especially the final fourth, definitely picks up in strength.
Yes,
but in a very good way.
Yeah, sure.
It's there's no rough edges. It's not kicking you around. But it really, it's like the culmination of like all these great flavors you've been getting all the way through. And then it just kind of packs a very nice soft punch at the end in a good way.
And it's rare to see Senator with a cigar that's an inch long.
Yeah.
Because he's taking that down.
I am.
I'm proud of you.
All right, boys. So first,
do you need a roach?
There's so much we can do with that.
Let's get him a toothpick, please.
All I'm going to say is I'm still holding it in my hand, unlike some of us.
That's true.
Hey, don't judge. Don't judge.
I know, right?
All right, boys. So let's do the formal liquor rating on the aged 2013 vintage Pol Roger champagne.
So I'm going to put price aside for everything we're drinking tonight.
We actually never talked about the price point.
Yeah, what is the price on
I don't
an aged
care.
bottle?
I don't want to know what it is.
No, but we should.
No, of course.
It factors into everything in some way, shape, or form. So the funny thing is the price range is actually really wild on this for some reason based on the retailer that you get it from. I've seen it as low as, and obviously, I'm always pursuing the best price. And I forgot this because when I came in, I thought this was $200. There are plenty of places that sell it for $200. You can get this for as low as like $120.
No way.
Wow.
Which I think for what it delivers, that's a very good price.
This to me is a perfect indulgence for New Year's Eve. Like a New
Agreed.
Year's Eve spend with your family.
Can you imagine this with caviar?
I mean, oh my God.
Off the charts.
Can you imagine?
Yes. No, yes. Absolutely can.
No. Yes.
That's a silly question.
Can I imagine it? No, I can make it a reality.
All right, Bam Bam. On the Pol Roger, you're up.
Yeah, regardless of the price, it's a 10 for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Grinder.
10.
Pagoda.
10.
Senator.
10.
Puba.
2.
Times 5.
It's a 10.
Quick on the math there, kids. I like that.
It's a 10 for me too. It's a flat 10 for the Pol Roger 2013.
So I want to tell you something funny. The thing with vintage champagne, and this is the beauty of exploring it, every year is different. It's just like a wine, right? Whatever year is on that bottle of wine, every year is going to drink differently. Every year vintage champagne will drink differently. Only non-vintage champagne will drink the same because they're going to blend it to make sure that it's exactly like you have come to know it. And the funny thing is that 2013 was actually one of the toughest growing years in the Champagne region. So some 2013 bottles from not Pol Roger, clearly, some other champagne houses are mediocre. Few are great. And so I read that this is one of the best of that year. Like Pol Roger somehow really killed it that year, even though most did not. And I'm glad. I was honestly a little bit worried because this could have gone either way. And it's just, this is the fun about trying this. Like, I can't wait to do a 2014, a 2015 bottle, even older than that. That's what's so exciting about this. None of them are going to drink the same. It's like anyone who's ever tried Dom Perignon. It will never taste whatever bottle you had at whatever point in your life you tried Dom for the first time. Every other one you try after that is going to be different. They're all, Dom Perignon does not make non-vintage. It's all vintage champagne. And that, I think, is what's so cool about exploring it.
Yeah. And you're not allowed to have any more champagne unless we're with you.
I agree.
That's done.
I agree.
That's a rule now.
Bam, we're in the triple digits now.
Okay.
That's solidified.
100%. You got to enforce that.
I will. I do.
Yeah, you do.
I will say, I actually got a really great gift when my son was born. Someone got me a vintage bottle of Veuve Clicquot Grand Dame that had my son's name engraved in the bottle.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
I have not opened it, but now hearing these ratings and seeing that the lizard palates clearly have evolved and can really appreciate fine champagne, the day I decide to open that, I want to open it with this group.
Let's
My
go.
man. My man.
Episode 101.
Thank you.
Next week. Actually, let's go.
Go home and get it now.
Yeah, we'll wait. We'll wait. The other thing I want to say while we're talking about Senator, we didn't mention wine. We really dove
That's another one.
headfirst into
course.
wine on this podcast over the last 100 episodes.
Yeah.
And as far as palate expanding and purchasing expanding, because of Senator and the experiences we've had, my wine collection's really grown, really in line with what we've done on the pod, because I'm not a wine guy.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from Senator and from Puba's commentary. Both of you guys have more experience in the wine world than I think any of us, me for sure.
Absolutely.
So it's
so I wanted to note that, because that's been another important journey. And we've, gotten a lot of emails from listeners. Hey, what's a good 20, 30? And then I'll text Senator like, hey, what should I suggest to this listener to get, in a certain price range? And
honestly,
it's very helpful.
If you remember that Oberon that you recommended, that is a fantastic table wine.
I buy that by the case.
It's just great to have in the house. It's fantastic
to have in the house. And
but
by Jordan.
Yeah, that Jordan too. Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, and the thing with wine, honestly, I think of all of these things, there are more wines than anything as a category, period. Right? We can talk about Scotch, we can talk about champagne, we can talk about cognac, you name it. There is more wine out there than any spirit we will ever dive headfirst into. And that's what makes it so intimidating. It's just like there's so much to try.
Too much.
I mean, I've tried so much, and I haven't even scratched the surface of what's out there. And one of the reasons for me, I love trying to share at least what I have found that I think is really good. And there's still so much more to learn. Is just the only way you're ever going to find that is really just sacrifice it. It's like you're going to have to sit through some really shitty bottles to get to some good ones. And I'm glad that we have found at least enough good stuff that we like. And there's so much more I think that we're going to do ahead.
I was in a wine store today picking up this Balvenie because I couldn't find it at a couple of my local shops. And I walked in, it's like a really nice wine shop. It's called Gary's Wine Marketplace. I was so overwhelmed even trying to find the Scotch section of where this bottle would be that we're about to rate, that I was like, they have so much wine here that I can't even comprehend where to start. And I feel like we've gotten a pretty good head start here on the pod and through this group, but I was completely overwhelmed. There's so much.
There's so much out there. And so when I say by Jordan, I'm only saying that not because that's for a wine connoisseur, they're going to say that's somewhat pedestrian. I'm saying just for the average person, if you need something dependable and consistent, you're going to get that.
Yeah,
buy Stag Sleep Artemis.
That's what we are.
Keep it in the house.
If you're out at a restaurant and there's Stag Sleep Artemis,
it's a win.
The Stag Leap's Artemis or get the Jordan if you're confused, because you get a wine list. There's so much stuff on there. Half of it is shit.
Yeah.
And going back to our point about Rob Isla and runs, wine is the exact same way. Because when Puba mentions Stag Leap Artemis, I sit here and I say to myself, there were years of Stag Leap Artemis that were absolutely fantastic. A number of us in this room, we went to dinner one night at an Italian restaurant. I know Rooster had made friends with the owner, and we had kind of a cigar patio out there. We were smoking late into the night.
That's right.
And obviously, folks that give me the wine list, and Artemis was on there. It's like, nobody's going to be disappointed with that. We drank it. It was excellent. Years later, I think Artemis is not the same. The most recent vintages of Artemis they're not bad, but they're not great. They used to be great. And that's where you've got to really find and chase the runs. And I think, to Puba's point, Jordan right now is actually on a good run. I think their stuff is very, very solid, where I think Artemis is a little bit in a rut, and hopefully is going to have some better yields going ahead. So it's very similar to cigars. You got to chase those runs.
You do. Just like Silver Oak. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's kind of
great.
You know what I mean? Sometimes
I'm going to capture that sound effect for future.
Well, it is. But what I'm saying is, it's hard. You go into these stores and if you try and go by price and you try and you don't do the research, you're going to wind up with, let's say you go in and you buy a case of wine. It's the holidays or whatever. And you try and mix and match, and you talk to the jerk in the store who may or may not know what's up. You wind up with half a case of wine that kind of sucks, and you go, you know what? I should have just bought a case of Jordan, or I should have bought just a case of half. It was a half
even
Jordan,
Oberon,
and half
for $20 a bottle
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You're going. So anyway, just go with what's safe. If you don't know what you're talking about, because I'm not a wine connoisseur, but you got to know what's good.
What's working.
What's going to work and what's not going to work for the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, boys, it's time to do the rating on the Balvenie 21 Year Aged Portwood.
Yes.
What a fantastic Scotch.
Amazing.
Bam Bam, you're up.
So I'm going to, because it's our 100th episode, I'm taking price out of this because it's so outrageously expensive, but I've never had a Scotch that was so honey forward. I've never had that experience. I'm giving this a 10 tonight.
Okay.
10.
Grinder.
I'm giving it an 8.
An 8.
Whoa. Wow.
I want to hear about that in a second.
Yeah.
Pagoda.
I'll stick to a 10. Today I'm in a very generous mood.
Exactly. Yeah.
Senator.
Sorry, I'm a little shell shocked.
I'm
So
shocked.
am I. You deflated me, your Grinder.
I only say that because when Rooster asked about the Macallan 18 and the Balvenie 21, if you would have said, like, I think Macallan 18 is way better, then I would have expected an 8, but it sounded like they were close for you. That's why I'm surprised.
Have another sip.
But my rating, I'm going to have to give it a 10. And I just say that, and I'm factoring in the price point. Again, I've been very lucky. I've had some scotches at this price point and even much higher than it. And I have not found, I think there are so few at this age expression that are this smooth, yet really flavorful and complex and just check all the boxes that I'm looking for in like a very, very high-end spirit. So for me, it's a 10.
You didn't need a chip of ice.
Not at all. Not a chip.
At all.
Not a chip.
Pooba.
I enjoyed it. Grinder's rating is throwing me for a loop because I respect his palate when it comes to Scotch so much. But it was a 10 for me. I mean, I couldn't find anything wrong with this and at all. But we can discuss. I really thought it was a 10, and it's not the fact that it's the 100th episode or that this is an expensive bottle. I really enjoyed it.
I agree. It's a 10 for me for sure. I love Balvenie. I love how this tasted tonight. I love how it paired with the Scotch. I thought it had a really interesting flavor profile, very complex. Taking price out of it, taking 100th episode out of it, it's absolutely a 10. I'd give this a 10 any day, and this is going to be a special occasion Scotch for me for sure.
Agreed.
Absolutely, it's a 10. So the formal liquor rating, boys, on the Balvenie 21 Year Aged Portwood is a 9.7.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
Grinder, I want to ask about that 8. What is with the 8?
I think it's a wonderful Scotch. I think you can definitely taste the age. I don't like the port taste, the port aftertaste is something that just it's repulsive in a way to me.
Really?
And not I don't mean to be overly aggressive or militant to use
well, you
that
gave
word
it an
again.
8, so
but
that's pretty
repulsive is a little aggressive.
That's pretty
I don't like port.
Mhm.
I hate that taste. It's a little too liquory. The mix of that
port is wine.
I know, but I don't think it's good wine. It's like shitty wine that you're putting Scotch into the cask. So that's my point of view.
Well, it's just a year of port.
Maybe it was a bad run. Maybe it was a bad run.
Could have been a bad run.
It could have been a bad run for the port.
All right, boys.
But that's why I
right.
think it was a wonderful Scotch.
9.7 on the Balvenie. And the most important factor of tonight's episode is the Padrón.
Yeah.
50-year, the hammer in Maduro. It's time to do the formal lizard rating for the 100th time. Brewster, you're up.
I'm going to give it a 50. It's a 10. It's
right.
a 10. I mean, it's an incredible cigar. It's one of the best cigars that Padrón, I think, makes. I mean, I think I would even edge it over the 80th. Slight edge, but I think it is one of the best.
Yeah, for those guys that have that stronger palate, it's there. It's right there.
Yeah. So
Booba.
it's a 10.
Yeah, it's a 10 for me. I mean, it was a big cigar. It's Nicaraguan, and for me, it smoked tremendously. I loved it.
Such a fitting cigar for tonight.
Absolutely.
Perfect cigar for tonight. So it's a 10 for me. There's no question about it. It's the best of Padrón. It's the best of cigars. It's the best of New World. It's the best of the best of the best. Fantastic and a perfect cigar for our celebration tonight. It's absolutely a 10. It delivered everything and more than I expected. I haven't reached for this in quite some time, knowing we were going to do it on this episode. So I was really looking forward to it, and it delivered even beyond my expectation. So absolutely a 10. Senator.
All right, so I'm fully prepared to be the contrarian in the group. It's a 9 for me.
Wow. I'm surprised.
Well, look, 9's an elite rating.
It's an elite
but I'm
score,
surprised.
and it's an excellent cigar. And folks should not be surprised, because if I thought this was a 10, I would smoke this as much as I do the 80th. I mean, the price point, obviously it's more, but it's not crazy, the difference, right? We're talking like 36, 38 a stick to 50 a stick. I love the 50th. I think it's an outstanding cigar. It's really rich. It's full flavored, all of that. Any day, if you were to put in front of me, if any of you were to hand me and I said, I don't have a cigar on me and I want a great smoke, and you handed me an 80th and a 50th, I'm always going to take the 80th. And I just think that there's a bit more complexity in the flavor profile. I just am obsessed with the Figurado. It's, again, outstanding cigar, but it doesn't check every box for me to earn that perfect 10.
Not a Padrón guy.
Yeah.
I just gave the 80th a 10. And the reason I say that, the last thing I'll say is when Giz said it's the best of Padrón, I think the 80th is the best of Padrón, and I think this is just right below it.
So, I'm just going to venture a guess. There's a power alley quality to this. There's power to this cigar, and that's not exactly your profile.
No, the flavor profile is there. It's just like, I guess to your point, and I'll agree with this.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't smoke 4 of these back to back.
Right.
I could smoke 4 80ths back to back.
Well, you have to be a lunatic to smoke 4 of anything.
One of our listeners wrote, Senator, when he smokes 15 or 16 cigars in a day, he wouldn't slot this in. When he wouldn't smoke 4 of these back to back.
Yeah.
But I just say that, like, when I've had either, a really high moment that I want to celebrate with a cigar, or just a really difficult day and I just need a great cigar to kind of just get me through it, I've smoked plenty of these and I've smoked plenty of 80s. I always, the first thought for me is an 80th. There's just something about that cigar that I think the flavor is not as dense as in this cigar. And that's not a problem with it. It's just, for my palate, I think the flavor's not delivered as intensely and as densely that it allows me to appreciate more of the flavors out of the 80th than I do this. Again, I love this cigar. A 9 is a great score.
It's a great score.
When I have to, put the two against each other, and I can only do that, I can't say that for me it's at exactly the same level as the 80th. I think it's just below. If I could give decimals, it would be a little over a 9, but I've got to round down to the 9.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Absolutely.
A little bit.
Yeah, see, I would give both of them. I think the 80th is a 10. And
Yeah.
I think that that this is a 10.
But if I handed
agree.
you both and said you could pick one, which would you want?
Dying on an island?
Yeah.
See, this is where the thing goes, where it's like,
Preference.
where you got to go decimals instead of whole numbers. You're
No,
asking me to
but
split hairs.
No, take scores out of it. If I just handed you both and I say you can only have one, you're on an island. last cigar.
Ever, forever.
Which are you taking? The 80th? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, yes. If I because it's more versatile. It's that agreed.
All right, Pagoda.
For me, it's a 10. And, I see where you're being slightly comparative. But for me, it's all about the experience today. And I want to evaluate the cigar based on how I really enjoyed it today, just as an isolated experience. But then you've got to think about this fits in, right into my palate. I love the exclusive O's. I love the 80th. I love a lot of the Padrones. And then, being paired with Pol Roger champagne to begin with was one of my favorite champagnes. And then Balvenie, which is one of my favorite brands of, Scotch. So it's been a wonderful night for me from that perspective. Being the 100th, episode, the experience, the conversation, the camaraderie, It feels so good for all 7 of us to be here together again and enjoying this moment of time.
Mm-hmm.
It is a 10.
Yes,
Well
the sum of
said.
the parts, the sum.
Well said.
The 10.
The sum is a 10.
Give the
10,
people-
10.
Pagoda, give the
10.
people what they
Well
want.
It's a 10.
Well
It's a
said.
10.
It's a 10.
All right,
A 10.
Grinder.
It's a 10.
I share a lot of the same feelings as Senator and everyone else, but I'd still give it a 10.
Okay.
I think it's a great 10. I think it's a great cigar. There are other 10s that I've given that may rock. If I were doing a zero-sum game and choose this or that, and that's all you get. Yeah, I mean, some I choose over this, but it's still a fucking 10.
Yeah.
All right, bam.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think both the 80th and the 50th are both 10s because they're so unique. They're different cigars. I don't see how a 9 is applicable for this particular cigar personally because of the way it's made. They're both flagship cigars. They're right at the pinnacle of the Padrón family for me. Both 10s.
All right, boys. So the formal lizard rating on the Padrón 50 years, the Hammer in Maduro, is a 9.9.
Spectacular score.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
It's that good.
It works out.
I mean, it is.
It's perfect.
It's not good.
All right, so let's.
I said it's that good.
Oh, it's that good.
I said it's that good.
I stand
It's
corrected,
not good.
dude.
All right, so let's just briefly go through the other Padrón ratings we've done on the podcast. We'll go bottom up. Padrón 2000 got a 7.5. The Padrón 1964 Torpedo and Natural, which we did because it was Cigar Aficionado Cigar of the Year, that got a 8.7. Then we had the Family Reserve, number 85 in Maduro, was a 9.2. Padrón 1964 Exclusivo Maduro, which we all love, is a 9.6. This, tonight, the Padrón Hammer, 50 years in Maduro, got a 9.9. And finally, the Padrón 80th anniversary in Maduro that we did on episode 53, our 1-year celebration, was a 10.0.
Yes,
Flat
sir.
10.
See?
Yes, sir.
Look.
Senator knew
All
what he
the
was
math-
doing.
all the
No,
math
Senator knew
works
what he was
out.
doing.
I just look. I'm going to challenge everybody a little bit in this group. I'm just I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this cigar. It's a fantastic cigar. I'm just saying I firmly believe that if everybody in this room truly was as obsessed with this cigar, it's the greatest of all time, we would all stock a lot more of these.
I have
Literally in my humidor right now, after I just pulled this one, 5 of these. If you were to tell me I could never smoke another one of these again, I'd be mildly disappointed. If you told me I could never have another 80th for the rest of my life, I'd be almost on the brink of tears. I can't not have that cigar.
That's fine.
I just don't feel the same
That's
way
a
about
double
that cigar.
negative. That's a double negative.
So here's what I'll say about
Are
it.
we
Can't
doing
not
grammatical
have-
checks?
All right, so
I'm just breaking his chops.
So here's what I'd say about it. So
What do you work for the school newspaper?
Yeah.
So for me,
Shut up, Adriana.
so for me, so here's what I'll say in rebuttal to what you just said. Both of these cigars for me are 10s. When I had a great week, when something great happened at work, I just want a really perfect cigar. I reach for the Padrón 80th. When I'm celebrating a holiday, a birthday, a milestone, I always reach for this.
There's something to be said
So
about
I
that.
think
Yeah.
that they neither are in competition with each other for me. It's just the moment at which I'm reaching for it. Obviously, the Padrón 80th is a $30 cigar. This is a $50 cigar, but I'm reaching for them at different moments, but they're equals to me.
Of course,
they're
they're not-
absolutely parallel.
They can't
to
be
me.
competitors because they're so unique. But if you just the standalone cigars of the for me, the 50th, it's a 10.
Yeah, this is a phenomenal cigar.
Yeah.
It's a richer, fuller experience
It is.
to me.
Yeah.
And if that's your flavor profile,
Both are
if
complex.
that's
But here's the
if
interesting
that's
thing.
what
but
you
the-
like, you will love
I think
that.
what
The
Rooster
inter-
said there is exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
Yes,
That's true.
The interesting thing, though, for me about this smoke, in closing, I guess, for me is that typically this would be like it's a richer, stronger thing.
Yeah,
Would be too strong for me.
right.
It wasn't, and it was a big cigar, and it was very, very smooth. I think for me, the experience is different than what an 80th presents. This was actually kind of big and bold, but it didn't overpower me at all. It was good all the way through and smooth all the way through. So it had all that kind of like muscle, but I was still able to get through the whole thing and really enjoy the whole thing and smoke it slowly. And I think that's a merit. Like the fact that it delivered that much power and was that approachable at the same time showed
Very
us
unique.
a very
Very
sophisticated thing, where the 80th is much more approachable and kind of, if I had to pick one cigar, right, like forever, sure, I'd pick the 80th. But boy, oh boy, for a big cigar with some muscle, for me, the fact and the size of it, I think it's a merit in the smoke.
Yeah.
No, it is a merit in the smoke because if you had the 90th, I think you'd rate it as an 8. Like that's what my thought would be.
Yeah,
That's a good
because
point.
it's very, very
So strong.
too strong.
That cigar, that
and
cigar
this is
kicks you
able to
around.
really just
It does.
It kicks you around.
it kicks you around.
It was balanced.
Not Rooster.
Sorry,
Not
just looking
Rooster.
at Rooster shaking his
Rooster's
head.
like, I'm gonna have
but
that
am I-
tomorrow morning
am
for
I- am I-
breakfast.
Am I crazy though? But it was like big, but
Yeah.
it was big and bold, but it didn't overpower you.
Yeah, you're not crazy. You're
No,
right
I
on.
agree.
crazy.
I agree with
Right
all
on.
the commentary.
Yeah.
That's why, like, we talk about when would this slot in, and I think even where I'm very understanding of what Gizmo's saying, like, there's a very particular occasion that this cigar slots in
It's
for
also
you.
a $50 cigar.
And
Yeah.
totally.
know?
But again, that's the 80th. It's also not a cheap cigar.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, for me, there are certain cigars, like the cigars that I've given 10s are cigars. It's like, a great D4 is a 10, a great Exclusivo is a 10, a great 80th is a 10. Those are cigars I just want all the time.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And and again, I'm not saying that everybody should rate that way. Just for me, I have to always crave and want that cigar for it to be a 10. And I just sometimes crave and want this cigar, but not all the time.
It's a
And
good
that's the only
perspective.
reason it was a 9.
It's a good perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
also the size of the cigar.
That too.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
it's a 6.5
you're not-
inch Toro.
You're not going to
commitment.
pick up this cigar all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But for special occasions, I mean, this is,
Right on.
It can't be
it
beat.
just delivers.
All right, boys. So before we close it out, we have to say thank you to a few folks. First off, we have to say thank you to our host, 1086 Cigars here in Hawthorne, New Jersey, where we record each episode now going on, over a year or a year? So we're very grateful to John, the proprietor here, and 1086. We have to thank our social guy, Max, and before him, Nick, have been really, really helpful helping our socials move because
Beautiful
the 7
work.
of us are not great at it.
No, beautiful work.
And we're not a video podcast, so it's a lot of work. And finally, I think all 7 of us can really, really celebrate and thank, because I think we do it every day, the incredible lizards out there who listen to this podcast every single week, obsessively, who listen to episodes back and forth and who've listened 2 and 3 times through the entire catalog of 100 episodes. It's really an incredible thing.
Yeah. Sending back comments and criticisms. It's amazing.
Yeah, and now, the emails moving into sending us cigars to review
Spirits.
and spirits to review. I mean, it's really an incredible thing, and I feel very lucky.
And please keep sending us emails, keep sending us feedback.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, these listeners are why we do this, and I think why we stay so excited to continue to
That's
do this.
exactly right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And because, we keep talking about the community, and this is the extended community, right? We're trying to reach out,
Mhm.
and we'd love to hear from you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, I think the most important thing that I think we've touched on a few times, we've kind of waxed on it a little bit, but this friendship in the room.
Mm.
It's, the podcast is amazing, but the friendship is just really what fuels, we see each other so much outside the podcast, and we have for 2 years now. And to have this podcast is great, but also have this friendship. I mean, you guys are my closest friends in the world now. And it's like, this has just been a beautiful thing.
And thank you, Giz, for the gift.
Oh, Giz.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, that was beyond
Love you guys.
amazing.
Awesome.
Prints are coming.
Yes, sir.
All right,
All right,
boys.
sorry, but Bam, we love you, but I think we're going to keep Gizmo as the producer.
Yeah.
Good call.
Bam's like, "Whew, that was a close one."
I had no fear, believe me. Where does this plug go?
All right, boys. So a phenomenal night tonight. 3 excellent cigars and drinks that we had. The Pol Roger Vintage 2013 was a flat 10.0. The Balvenie 21 years aged Portwood was a 9.7. And the Padrón 50 years, the Hammer in Maduro, was a 9.9. What a phenomenal night.
Oh, yeah.
Great conversation, great pairings, great cigar, and a great first 100 episodes.
Yes, sir.
It's a century.
Major milestone.
Major
yeah.
milestone.
Yeah,
And
it
to
is.
many, many more. And we'll see y'all next week.
Cheers.
Cheers, thanks.
Keep smoking.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time. and we'll see you next week.